Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Welcome, everybody, to a Thursday edition of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, along with Dustin Fox and Tyvis Powell. I'm Adam the Bull. We've got Mike and Anthony on the other side of the glass. A lot to get to today. Spencer German, the new host of Locked On Browns, will join the panel, and we'll discuss the possibility of yet another quarterback on the Browns' radar.
This is a big-name quarterback, though.
Yeah. Well,
not in the same realm of the
well,
Daniel
don't
Jones.
give it away, Mike. I mean, don't spill the beans here.
I didn't spill nothing. I just said it's not Daniel Jones.
We'll get to that later. So, obviously, plenty of Cavs talk coming off a win yesterday. And spring training begins for the Guardians today. Pitchers and catchers report. Guys, how we doing?
Doing great, man.
Yeah.
Doing great. How you doing?
New?
Anything new? I don't know.
Yeah.
We just talked before the show for half an hour.
We did talk. But the audience
haven't seen Tyvis in a minute, I feel like.
Wow. Really?
You know, I got a question.
Oh, yeah.
When you drive 2 hours, you often do a lot of reflecting.
Sure.
So I wanna y'all gonna be my therapist.
Yeah, okay.
For
Sure.
a
That's
good
fair. I like
2
that.
minutes, okay?
Yeah.
So I was sitting there and I had expressed to my wife one day. You know how family, when you're growing up, you're so close with your family.
Sure.
Even when you're an adult, you talk to your family all the time, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I have been the exact opposite.
Okay.
Because, this is where I'm a little messed up in the head, but I'm not ashamed to tell y'all, but I'm a little messed up because I see once there's a death, right, in the family to where you was close with that person, I see how it destroys and tears people down, and they some people can't bounce back from it and things like that, to where I now as an adult barely talk to my family.
Right.
Because if something happens to them, I don't want to be messed up like that.
That's the reason?
Yeah.
You're avoiding
being
close.
Yeah.
Because you're scared of somebody leaving?
Yeah.
Of leaving or
you need
dying?
You need real therapists, dude.
No. Dying. Once they die, I don't want to be tore up.
So right now,
you're instead of enjoying them being alive and being in your presence, you just want to kill them now.
No.
Yeah.
It's distancing yourself.
Okay,
well, basically, you're just killing them off now.
But Tyvis, I'm gonna fix this for you. I'm serious. I'm not joking around. I'm being serious because I can
understand what you're saying.
Right, I do.
I know. I'm sure you can.
But you can learn from my experience. Okay.
With your pops?
Yeah, my father and I did not really have a relationship when I was an adult, and we did on and off. But the last few years of his life, we really didn't speak at all, and I had sadness and I had guilt about that. But ultimately, it wasn't my fault. He was the adult. And my parents got divorced when I was in high school, and just things got bad. My father had addiction issues, and so our relationship was rocky at best, and in the last few years it was non-existent. But when my father died, my father actually called me about a month before he died. I didn't take the call, okay? And I never spoke to him. And then he died a month later. Now, when he did die, even though at that point I had no relationship with him, it still hurt. I was still sad. It wasn't like, oh, he's dead? Okay, let's, So now, would I have had, was I affected as much as if my mother had died, who I'm very close with? Sir, probably not, but I still was very sad. So whether your parents are in your life or not, when they die, it's going to affect you and you're going to be sad. So don't miss an opportunity. Now, I know your backstory, or at least to some degree. I don't know every detail about your life. Yeah. None of this is your fault. The reason of the bad relationship is your parents' fault. They were the adults, you were the kid.
Yeah, but that's not.
If you have a chance to heal while now, don't avoid it just because you're afraid to to be sad when they're going to die.
Well,
is all I'm saying.
it's not necessarily that as well. It's also the fact that that's just how I was raised. My family is more like I love you without having to tell you I love you. Like I love you type thing. So that's just how I was raised. To where my wife's family, they all close, they talk all the time. It's weird to me because I love my mother, I love my grandparents, I love everybody, but I don't talk to them I talk to them once every month or something like that. But my wife, on the other hand, she talks to her mom and her family literally every single day. So to me, it's that's just how it was. That's just that's what I know. That's just how I was raised. I don't have to talk to you to know I love you and stuff like that. So as I got an adult, it's just
you're an adult. I'm not going to obviously tell you what to do. You do whatever you think is best for you. But just because things have been a certain way doesn't mean they have to stay that way forever.
Yeah, that's true.
People change. We all change. And if all I'm saying is don't avoid them just because you think you're going to be sad if you get too close when they die. That's all I'm saying. Whether you decide to, try to get closer with your parents or your siblings or whatever, that's up to you. But my only advice would be don't avoid it because of the repercussions of them dying. Don't avoid it for that reason.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of friends we're getting to the age now where we started losing parents.
Yeah, sure. Right.
In my 40s and some friends in their 50s. Your parents are getting in their 70s, 80s. It happens. So I would say that I've got friends who have been not as close with their parents, and for a variety of reasons, but they're all super sad when they're gone, and they have regrets.
It doesn't matter.
You don't get the time back. So I would say don't be scared. Because you can't, once it's over, it's over.
Yeah.
And you can't go back.
Yeah. This is heavy.
This is really heavy, golly.
Yeah. Is it?
It's all right. It's real. We're keeping it real.
It's crazy. It's I can talk about this stuff. It don't seem heavy to me.
These are the conversations I have with my friends now that I'm an adult.
Yeah.
I like these conversations, but it's probably not our audience is probably.
They
probably get to the sports.
I don't agree. Listen, we're not going to talk about this forever, but there's a lot of people in our audience that are going through things that we all go through. We're human beings, just like they're human beings. I'm sure there's a lot of people in our audience that have bad relationships with their parents, and maybe they've been thinking about, should I give them a call?
I want to be on record. My relationship with my parents my mothers were great. My father, we're working on it, but that's I'm 30. I'm gonna be 31 on Sunday, so it's kind of
And are you closer with your in-laws? Do you talk to them a lot?
Well, yeah. I see my mother-in-law and my father-in-law all the time.
They're at your house a lot, right?
They come down and
visit.
They
live near you, don't they?
Well, they live an hour away to where my family is 2 hours away.
Oh, I didn't realize they were. I don't know why I thought your in-laws lived really close to you.
Not an hour away.
I obviously have that wrong.
You got to be in whistleblow radius. My wife has to be in whistleblow radius.
What does that mean?
Meaning that she won't move too far away from her family.
I see. An hour is whistleblow radius?
Yeah, because if something happens, boom, they can get there. Yeah.
I got you. All right, I get it. So, I don't know. I think we hashed it out. If anybody has advice for Tyvis, send him an email or something,
An email.
Send him an email.
I saw.
By the way, I see my boy Earl tweeted out.
Yeah.
So, again, I really from all of us from UCSS, thanks to everybody,
Yeah.
all the fans that's reaching out to Earl in these tough times, man. We really do appreciate that. I know he appreciates it, and like I say, Earl, we can't wait to have you when you come back, whenever that is.
Yeah, and he posted something on social media today. Check out his social media with some of his comments, and obviously he could speak to this subject we were just discussing as well. By the way, on a much lighter note, speaking of email, real quick, I was watching this video where this woman who's probably my age, maybe a little younger than me, maybe she's in her mid-40s, I can't remember exactly how old she was. She goes, I was just on the beach, and an 18-year-old asked me for my phone number. and she goes, I told him, I'm old enough to be your mom. And he said to me, well, give me your email address instead. I didn't realize email is only for old people. Or my age, I guess.
Email.
Easier ways to communicate.
There is. I don't really email that much anymore, Heather, but I think
for work stuff, though.
Yeah, for work.
That's it, though.
Yeah, I don't communicate with any friends or family via email.
I emailed you.
Yeah, no, that's true. All right, from family issues to sports. Mike, let's get us going.
Let's do it. We'll talk some Cavs. We'll talk some Browns. We'll talk some Ohio State at the end of the show.
Go Bucks.
We'll start
Go Bucks.
with DeAndre Hunter after a quick word from FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth-quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for bigger payouts, you can combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. That is FanDuel.com/UCSS for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA and the ultimate Cleveland sports show. Guys, it was another not very interesting Cavs win last night because they dominated the Raptors. But DeAndre Hunter, boy, oh boy, that dude was born to wear a Cleveland Cavaliers uniform. Tyvis, 18 points in his second game for the Cleveland Cavaliers' newest
Mike didn't like him 2 weeks ago. Now he's the greatest fit in the history of.
Did you say you didn't like him?
Born to be in the wine and gold.
That is blasphemous.
He said he wanted Cam Johnson.
I prefer Cam Johnson's fit a little better. Hunter's been spectacular in his 2 games so far. Ty, what'd you make of DeAndre Hunter's second game with the Cavs?
Obviously, he's getting his offensive groove down, to come out there and score 18, hit a couple of jump shots to get to the cup, finish strong. It was like, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. To have that off the bench, obviously when Ty Jerome, did Ty Jerome play last night?
He did not.
Yeah, I was about to say, I didn't see him out there. I seen him actually in street codes. But to have a guy come off the bench and be effective, obviously when Ty Jerome is there, he'll have that natural chemistry there. But this is a guy that's a 3-level scorer. And on top of that, he plays great defense. Now, I will like to see him, the crazy thing is I want to see him defend in crunch times. And obviously these last 2 games, the Cavs have come out and just completely the game was over in the first quarter. Like they've done a magnificent job of doing that. So I'm not really seeing the part of him that I want to see as far as in the crunch when the game is close. How do you defend? What the lineup is going to be?
Yeah.
How do you play differently? Because in these moments, he's just playing loose. It's like we up by 20. I can come out here and do the things and try things what I want to try, things like that. So I'm not seeing that part of him. But from an offensive standpoint, from what I can tell, is that this guy is going to fit in really well. Like I say, to have 18 off the bench, you talk about losing LeVert and Niang. Obviously, those 2 guys were very good off the bench before they left. You're going to have to find a way to replace that, and this guy, it seems like he could do both of those guys' things into one. So it's a great move, and I understand why the Cavs made it.
Man, I mean, it's been a short sample size here, a small sample size with Hunter, but I mean the early returns are really, really good. He's only played 2 games, and you got 1 game with him in the starting lineup, 1 game with him coming off the bench. Strus obviously comes back last night and was phenomenal again.
Oh my gosh!
And that lineup with the core 4 and Max Strus has been really, really darn good this year. One of the best in the league. I'm sure Mikey knows those numbers.
Oh, I have him. Don't worry.
But in terms of having that ability to bring a guy off the bench who hit 4 threes last night, by the way, and scores 18 points. He played the exact same amount of minutes as Strus, but depending on how those lineups rotate, it'll be interesting. But now you got a viable option here, not just as a defender, but also as a scorer. I think its early returns are excellent. In fact, Coach Kenny Atkinson said last night, guys, the first impressions are fantastic. So that says a lot, I think.
Tell you 2 other things before I give my thoughts on Hunter. First of all, I love the fact that the Cavs had 5 players with 5 or more assists. They're so good at moving the ball. I mean, I love that. Number 2, the Raptors, is that the worst court in the NBA?
I like that court.
You do? I think it looks so cheesy.
The purple?
I just think it looks so, I don't know.
I love
like
the Raptors old school.
It looks like
I like the old school.
It looks like a crown that an 8-year-old kid would wear at a birthday party. I don't know.
Dude, those uniforms that they wore with Vince Carter and the old Raptors in the middle of the court, you can't see it in that spot. But I mean, that's the color scheme, and
I don't mind the color.
Dude, it's all of it. It's like a cartoonish, right? And that was what was really cool about them. Their new stuff I don't like, but this is cool, I think.
Speaking of old, does Memphis still wear like the Vancouver color?
Once in a while, I think they do the throwbacks.
Yeah.
Right?
Every once in a while.
I love the Vancouver Grizzly jersey.
Big country.
I forgot about that guy.
Your thoughts on
on Hunter? I mean, listen. So far, he's been fantastic. We can't. I don't want to go too crazy, like Dustin said. I mean, it's been 2 games. They have, the Toronto Stinks.
They've been blowing out. They blew the Timberwolves and them, so I can't really.
But I'm excited to see, when they play some good teams here down the stretch. They're playing Memphis. You got the Knicks a bunch of times still. Mm-hmm. You got Indiana. You got another game with Boston. I'm curious to see what it looks like, especially when everybody's healthy too. Obviously, Hunter's a better player than Max Strus in terms of the starting lineup. But just because Hunter's a better player, it still might make sense to have him coming off the bench. In the end, at the end of the game, Hunter's going to be on the floor.
Oh, I think it depends on, the way he's been playing, he's made it to where the situation doesn't matter, because what was important was seeing the 18 points, because usually people be like, all right, if we need 3-point shooting or we need a scorer in there, you probably go with Strus. If you need defense, more so him. To where he actually is doing both.
But is Strus a better offensive player than Hunter?
He a better shooter.
It's a different kind of offensive ability.
Yeah.
Hunter's a better overall offensive player. Strus is a little different. Hunter's not a passer. You mentioned all the guys with 5 assists yesterday.
Yeah,
Do you know how many DeAndre Hunter had yesterday?
I think he had 0.
0. And it's not saying he can't pass. He threw a couple passes, guys missed shots.
Right.
But Max Strus is a very underrated playmaker in terms of the overall construct of the Cavs offense. Hunter's more of an ISO, come off a pin down and shoot, as opposed to driving and kicking. We talked about all those numbers.
Yeah.
We were talking about his fit versus Cam Johnson's fit, et cetera, et cetera. But to Dustin's point real quick on the Max Strus with the starting lineup, Dustin, I'm glad you brought this up, and you can take it full. In 97 minutes this season, which granted is not a giant sample size, the core 4 plus Strus has an offensive rating of 127.1, a defensive rating of 94.8. That's a net rating of 32.3 of all lineups, 5-man lineups in basketball that have played at least 75 minutes. That is the 3rd best net rating in the NBA. Can you guess the other 2 that are higher?
The Celtics.
Incorrect.
The core 4.
The
Thunder.
The core 4 with another player.
It's a Cavs lineup, but it's not the core 4
Dean
plus
Wade.
Okay.
You're close.
Does
I'm
Dean
going to say
Wade a
Ty
part of it?
Jerome. I'll say Ty Jerome with Donovan, Evan, Allen, and no. Go ahead.
No Ty Jerome in it. So the Grizzlies starting 5 of Morant, Bane, Jalen Wells, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Zach Edey.
And how many minutes have they played together?
131.
Okay, so 95's not that little, I guess.
No. This is over 75, so this is with at least that level.
Yeah.
The other one, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Donovan, Mobley, Merrill, Niang, and LeVert. That was the Cavs' highest-rated 5-man lineup prior than the current core 4 plus Max Strus in the starting lineup. So I know 97 minutes may not sound like a giant sample size.
It doesn't sound like a lot.
But think about it. Strus missed some time.
Yeah.
And after the first 4-minute stretch, when they start making their rotations,
right,
you don't really get the starters back in altogether outside of the start of the 3rd quarter or the very end of the game. But Atkinson's mixed and matched so often. So
are the quality of opponents factored into any of that any of those numbers?
No, it's just it's per whatever.
Okay.
Like per
I'm just curious. But that was interesting.
It's crazy how.
So to answer the question, yes, obviously they have been good with the core 4 of Max Strus. It's been an excellent lineup. Yeah, it's going to
say this is 3rd in the NBA of all lineups.
All lineups with at least 75 minutes.
5-man lineups, minimum 75 minutes.
That's true.
It's the 3rd best net rating.
Right.
So the Cavs got 2 and 3. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
although 2 doesn't exist.
Well, they ain't got 2.
It's not
Yeah, 2's
exist.
gone. But they had 2 and 3.
Correct.
I mean, if the Cavs are healthy come playoff time, they could win a championship. It's that simple.
Sure.
And that's what it's going to come down to between them and Boston and Oklahoma City and whoever else you think might be in the mix. I don't know, the Knicks or who's the 4th best team in the league, in your opinion?
I think Denver.
Denver? Oh, yeah, Denver. Okay. Knicks 5, maybe?
Yeah.
All right, so, Denver can win a title, no doubt about it. By the way, Jokic is absolutely the MVP again this year.
Over SGA?
I don't know. It's not even close, Mike, is it?
I don't know. The SGA on-off numbers are crazy too, but Jokic is so good. I would vote for Jokic, but I totally
it's a no-brainer. I don't even know how it's close.
They're going to give it the same reason why Josh Allen got it over Lamar. They ain't about to keep giving it to the Jokic.
You know what's funny?
Year after year after year.
In my opinion, I would have voted
Joe Burrow.
No, I would not have. In 2023, I would have voted for Josh Allen over Lamar Jackson. And this year, I would have voted for Lamar Jackson over Josh Allen. I think the voters got it wrong both years. I think they both should have won one in the last 2 years, and they did.
You could get Aaron Rodgers. The Jets are moving on.
I know, Jets are moving on. Yeah.
He'll be
officially
a post June 1st.
Yeah, no interest in that. He's shot.
Back to Hunter real quick. And
Yeah.
take the highlights full. When you see DeAndre Hunter in some of these situations, Tyvis alluded to his ability to be a 3-level scorer.
Get up there.
One underrated part of Hunter's game, and granted it's been 2 games here, so I'm using more of his Atlanta stats than his Cleveland stats. Do you know he averages more free throw attempts per game than anyone currently on the Cavs?
That's a shame.
So not
He's
only
aggressive to the basket.
Yeah, not only is he a 40% three-point shooter, and by the way, coming off little pin downs and screens like that, he will step into threes, which because of where he shoots from, we talked about the height he lets it go from, almost an unblockable shot.
Yeah.
He's their best point per possession scorer on post-up opportunities. He's a 40% three-point shooter. He gets to the line as an 80% free throw shooter.
Yeah. And, Mike, I just got to believe, as a basketball, if I were another team and you said to me, it's 5 minutes left, it's a tie game.
He's in there.
If I'm the opponent, would I rather have Max Strus on the court or DeAndre Hunter? If I'm an opponent, I'd rather have Max Strus every time.
Yeah, I don't want DeAndre Hunter to be able to mix things up defensively and guard everybody. And also in the playoffs, and we could talk regular season, and regular season numbers are very different than playoff numbers. When defenses intensify in the postseason, you have to be able to create shots one-on-one.
Right.
A lot of times in the postseason, this whole ball movement for the Cavs is beautiful in the regular season, we'll see if it translates in the postseason. A lot of times it comes down to, do you have a mismatch, and can your guy score over better defense?
Yeah.
DeAndre Hunter is capable of doing that in one-on-one situations. And even if we don't see it as often as he did it in Atlanta during the regular season, they're going to do possessions in the playoffs against the Knicks, against the Bucks, against the Celtics, against the Pacers, where the shot clock's going to be at 3 or 4. DeAndre Hunter's going to have the ball, and the Cavs are going to say, Hunter, go make something happen, get a good look. And he is much more equipped to do that than a Strus or a Dean Wade or an Isaac Okoro.
Those guys can't do that. He's their most athletic, wing scoring creator, not named LeBron, since Alonzo G, baby.
Alonzo G.
How long have you been waiting to pull that line out? That's been in your back pocket.
We loved Alonzo G for a brief period of time.
What position did J.J. Hickson play?
Wasn't he a power
he was
forward?
a power forward, yeah.
I thought he was a small forward.
No, he was 6'9", bigger guy.
Shout out. Jail?
Shout out. Is he in
J.J.
jail?
Hickson?
Is he in
I
jail?
think he is in jail, yeah. I'll double check.
I saw a video the other day. There was like 6 guys off of one of those LeBron teams. They're all in bad way.
Oh, yeah,
Had
right.
some life.
J.J. Hickson serving 20 years for armed robbery.
Yeah.
What?
Hey, dub.
2018, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Sheesh.
J.J. Hickson.
Sorry to bring that up. Yeah.
All right, Mike.
Shout out to Imani Bates, man. Got out there and hit him a trace. You know who I'm really impressed with, and I know y'all don't care because he's a rookie, but that Jalen Tyson, man, I'm telling y'all.
He can play.
Listen, he 2 for 2 for Trey, man. I like that kid. I ain't saying he just going to be the next best thing, but I see it. I see the production from where he was at the beginning of the season to where he is now. He continues to grow. And shout out to Tristan Thompson because I'd have dunked it too.
Yeah, before we move on, what'd you make of the Tristan Thompson situation at the end of the game?
I was not watching by the end of the game.
People are in
didn't
outrage
see it,
about
I'd
it.
have dunked
Tristan
it too.
Thompson, with the clock running down, they're up by 20, went in and dunked at the very last second.
Yeah.
I'd have threw it off the glass.
If tag board is going to work, I'll show you the video here.
Tag board is not going
it was a
It
late.
actually looks like
it's a late game. What are you gonna take the violation?
And take it.
Take it.
Whoosh!
That's with 4 seconds left in the game. He dunks
Yeah,
and
so?
just let this play out.
Throw it off the
The
glass.
Raptors took offense to that. It seems like Tristan was ready to fight the entire country of Canada.
He's Canadian.
And just
Donovan's like,
watch-
why did you do that to us?
Watch as this unfolds here.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
It
maybe
be
the
your own
Raptors should have
people.
fought more in the game.
It be your own people doing it. Look at this. The Canadians fighting the Canada's team.
By
That's
the way,
crazy.
That is the softest fight I've ever seen. Nobody was interested in fighting there.
For who?
Nobody.
Oh, okay.
Well, maybe Tristan.
No, you could always
The
tell.
Raptors were only interested in talking. They were not interested in fighting.
Talk it out.
That is the stupidest thing I ever heard. I don't care if Tristan Thompson pulled down his pants, grabbed his you-know-what, and put it down the basket. I do not care. They are professionals. If you don't want him to score, then stop him from scoring. What is this, Tiddlywinks? 6th grade basketball? The Raptors, maybe they should worry about how shitty they are at basketball.
Should have threw it off
Are you
the glass.
kidding me?
Throw it off the glass, TT.
My God, I don't care if he rubbed his ass on the backboard. I mean, what?
Yeah, I don't.
It's sort of an unwritten rule, though, man.
But wasn't it late in the shot
Unwritten
clock?
rules are bullshit. I don't believe in unwritten rules.
It was late. Wasn't it late in the shot clock,
But dude,
McNugget?
teams every day take shot clock violations because
I
the
ain't
game's
taking
over.
no shot clock violations, especially if I've been riding the
what's
bench
the
the whole
big deal?
year.
Who cares?
By the way, pretty sure that bucket put the total over the total.
You like that?
Oh, Tristan Thompson.
I just thought about that.
He's a man of the people.
What was the score there?
131.
108.
So what's
139
that's
or 239.
yeah, the total was 237 and a half.
So it did put it over.
Wow. I didn't think about that until now. Will the league be investigating Tristan Thompson?
There's no way you do that.
I'm just saying that's kind of interesting. Just put
You know
it out
what?
there.
These unwritten rules,
You
they're so
are
stupid.
hilarious.
I don't like them in
that's
baseball.
kind of a big
I don't
thing,
like
no?
any of that.
I mean,
How much money changed hands on that shot?
If I were a coach in the NBA,
did
I'd
it-
run it up on every
he
team.
did
if I
it for
could.
Vegas.
I'd be running full court press defense.
Canada.
Could you imagine if you had money on the under? I'd have killed him. I'd have been like, bro.
Dude, yeah.
Bro.
That's your fault.
Oh my God.
Nobody forced you to bet.
I've had a lot of bad losses. Like
All
that,
right,
though.
let's
wouldn't be the
keep
first.
it moving.
Sorry.
We're going to go to
I
our...
mean, but seriously, Mike. I mean, the Raptors. They showed no fight in the game, but with that, because he dunked the ball with 4 seconds, they're all.
It's a spit
why
in
would
the,
that? I
it's a
wouldn't
spit in
care.
the face.
Oh no, it's
Tua.
not.
Well, do you get upset in baseball if
Yeah.
someone steps on the line?
No, those
those
are stupid rules. I
just
don't
asking.
believe in any of that nonsense. I don't believe in throwing at players in baseball. It's dumb. I wouldn't do that.
Throw at him.
Oh my! And by the way, if the Raptors are so offended, punch Tristan in the face. Be a man about it. Don't just stand there squawking.
They wanted to talk it. What you?
I had a beef with somebody at the radio station once. I threw him on his ass.
You know what happens if you start?
Luckily, management didn't find out about that.
You know what happens if you get into a physical altercation? You lose
fined.
money. Is it
Well,
worth
don't
losing?
be a fake tough guy.
Is
I don't
it
like
worth
fake tough
losing
guys.
Is it worth losing your game check?
Come on. We just talked about maturity here.
Yeah,
You're a grown up.
yeah.
Catch me
You think
out.
I want to have a fight? You
Catch
crazy?
me-
I don't want to fight.
I just think that, like, if we got into an altercation right now, we're not throwing blows.
Oh, of course not. I'm too old for that
Yeah,
nonsense.
dude, so-
But I'm not jumping in somebody's face because they.
Yeah, but Adam, you get mad at people all the time. And
Of course I do.
And you have verbal altercations
You got
with
mad that
people.
someone didn't recognize you.
You got mad.
Now, I was not mad. I was annoyed because then they didn't do what I wanted them to do.
You yelled at somebody at a Billy Joel concert because you was standing up.
They yelled at, they complained to me first, Tyvis, and I was in the right. Who goes to a concert and sits? It's a rock concert, for crying out loud. You're a doofus. I mean,
Was this an older person that you got into it with?
he was around my age, maybe a little older, but probably not much older than me. Come on. I'm out of shape and in my 50s. If I could stand for the whole concert, so can you. And I wasn't.
Some people wanted just to sit and enjoy.
Tyvis, when you go to a rock concert, you got to expect to stand. Do you not?
I would
When you
know.
go to
I mean,
country
I
music
would
concerts,
know.
you sit the whole time?
I stand.
Exactly.
Stand.
So
I
what's
do
the
like
problem?
to sit at times.
I did too. I wasn't standing the whole time, but he was complaining. This guy.
And by the way, if I do want to sit just to rest my knees or back or whatever, people might be standing in front of me.
I know, and I wouldn't complain about it.
And I just get on my phone for a few minutes and
Exactly.
take a rest.
Did they not have it like on the Jumbotron and that?
They did, but I want to see.
No, I'm saying like they could just look up at.
I liked, when I go to Billy Joel, I like to dance around a little bit. I sing the song. I have fun. And trust me, most of the people that were sitting near me were on my side because most of them were standing. I just happened to be right in front of the guy.
What if he wanted to get physical?
What are your thoughts on standing versus sitting at a ball game?
No, that's totally different.
Okay.
In a ball game, you stand in a big moment, maybe.
I
You know,
agree.
bases loaded, 2 outs, bottom of the ninth, big game. Okay, we all get up. Let's
Get
go
off your
crazy.
feet, yeah. Or get off
But
your feet.
you can't be standing in like the third inning of a regular season baseball
agree.
game. That's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Big moments in sporting events stand. But even if somebody was standing the whole game, I probably wouldn't say anything. If they,
Well,
you know.
they should go in the students.
nobody
They should
stands
go
the
to the
whole
student section or something. They
In
stand.
college basketball, a
They
lot of times
stand in
people
the
stand.
student section
And that's
the entire
fine. You
game.
got to expect that. That's college basketball. That's part of the deal.
All right, let's get to
Go ahead.
our next topic of the day, guys.
We could go just list things that I get. By the way, I'm working on, Aaron and I are working on a big stand-up routine for our comedy show.
Oh, beautiful.
You get up on stage?
Oh, yeah.
Dusty, you
We're,
get up on
Dustin,
stage?
Aaron and I are writing it. We're in the middle of writing it.
I mean, if someone wants to write something for me, I'll do it.
Yeah, well, I'm not writing for you.
I
I'm working on my own.
I have Lima write
Ask
something for
Lima
me.
to write something.
We will announce the official date of that once
Yeah.
Hulk gives me the ticket
That's gonna be
link.
fun.
So it's 99.9% there. Just wait
Yeah.
for the ticket link to send out. But Comedy Show 2.0 is coming to a theater near you very, very soon. Guys, if you like content like we just got in for 5 minutes, we do it every day in overtime after the regular UCSS show. For $1.99 a month, if you become a starters tier member of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, you get loyalty badges, custom emojis, and members-only community posts. But for $4.99 a month, that is the coaches tier member. That gets you all the same starter tier perks, plus daily overtime videos, member shoutouts, discount codes for merch, and much, much more. So if you want extra UCSS content, become a coaches tier member. Bull, I was listening to a podcast with Ryan Russillo and Todd McShay yesterday, and they were talking about how the talent of a
favorite guys.
quarterback is part of the equation, but the system into which they are drafted is the other part. There are talented quarterbacks that have gone through bad situations and never panned out on the NFL level, which made me think of this as a possible question for us today.
Yeah.
The Browns are obviously in the market for a quarterback, whether it's 2, 33, wherever. Mm-hmm. Do you believe the organization currently has the proper infrastructure in place for a rookie quarterback to succeed?
Before we answer that, I'm curious, did they give any examples?
They talked about, so they talked about Bo Nix getting drafted into the Denver Broncos with Sean Payton,
Right.
and him being put in a position right away to succeed, as opposed to somebody, and I'm trying to think of it. They used Jamarcus Russell as, for example.
Right, but
Caleb
don't you think
Williams.
Jamarcus Russell would have failed anywhere?
No, I don't know.
I don't. Yeah,
No, I mean,
that's the.
I think it's a bad example.
They also used Justin Fields as a possible example.
So if Jamarcus Russell goes to an organization that has a culture,
Yeah.
I mean, if he went to Pittsburgh or New England when Belichick was running things, I mean, don't you think it would have been different?
I don't know. Some people, I don't know that. I mean, I think there are certainly some quarterbacks where it matters where you go. I think there's some on both ends of the spectrum. I think Joe Burrow was going to be good wherever he ended up. I don't think the Bengals had much to do with it. And I think Jamarcus Russell was going to be crap wherever he was. Now, I think there's probably a lot of guys in between that it matters. But I think there's some on the extreme sides that.
I think there's differences too, because some guys you put them in an environment where they're susceptible to bad behavior.
That's true. Yeah,
because
100%.
sometimes you got to just keep the player away from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I know when I was a rookie, I'll say my story. Like I went to a team that was a bad team. Like it was bad guys,
Yeah.
guys that are in prison now.
Yeah.
Are on that team.
Right.
And that was the culture that was in that locker room.
Yeah.
And honestly, I got caught up in it a little bit, and I was like goody two-shoes kid coming from Ohio State, Jim Tressel, you know what I mean, captain of Ohio State, and I didn't feel like I fit in, so I tried to sort of fit in, and it ended up kind of costing me a little bit. You know what I mean? So again, it's one example, but I'm 100% of the mindset that the place you go that drafts you ultimately dictates your career and the success you have, no matter how good you are, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, Dustin, with that being said, do the
don't disagree
Browns
with
currently
that.
have the infrastructure in place for any of these rookie quarterbacks to potentially thrive?
It's hard to say yes to that.
Yeah.
It is.
Tell me about
the
it.
reality is they haven't had a good infrastructure. I think that Kevin Stefanski's a really good coach, and he's a likable guy.
Yeah.
But who the hell knows? I mean,
What-
the stories that we've heard from that locker room throughout the years, and,
Yeah.
and even last year at times with some of the teammates, the players on the roster, like I really don't know if they have enough winners in that locker room to be able to turn the page and have that young player be able to come in and help be a part of that.
What makes Kevin a good coach to you?
It's a great question.
I know, because Bull said it a lot.
And I do say that because I think Kevin's a good guy. I think genuinely he cares about his players. I think he's a very smart football guy. He's had to earn everything in this business to get to this point. I know him a little bit, personally, and I like him. I would like to play for him. I would. Mm-hmm. So that to me says a lot about the person's character. And on top of that, the football IQ I think is there. Now, he may have too much stacked against him to be able to succeed here in Cleveland because it is so difficult. And Tyvis, I mean, you're around the program now more than I am. I was more in the past, but it's a really tough place to win.
Yeah.
Because there are barriers in place that don't help you. Mm-hmm. And that comes from the top down.
Yeah. I think to answer this question, does Cleveland have the infrastructure in place for a rookie quarterback to succeed? I am with the Dustin. It's hard to say yes. I do think Kevin is a good coach. I think having Tommy Rees as the OC, I think that's great. And who's the quarterback coach?
Bill Musgrave.
Bill Musgrave. I think having those three together could help a rookie quarterback. However, where I struggle is the rest of the team. That's the part. Like, how far is this team? Have they adopted the loser mentality? Have they? Can they overcome that? Can it be if things start off bad last year? Do they have the guys on the team to be like, this ain't last year, this ain't the past, we ain't going down that road? Do they have that, or do they have that? This is just how it is around here. Like if that is the culture right now, if they don't have those guys that can turn that culture, it don't matter if you go get Tom Brady.
Well, you guys played, so you tell me. Yeah. Is it the coach that changes the culture, or is it the players?
Well, it's really the players.
Right, because people always talk about it with the coach. And maybe in some cases it is the coach. I don't know. But
the coach gets you excited because you can see the vision. But the players, especially the leaders, the quarterback, if that's a fiery guy, it bleeds through the rest of the team.
Yes.
Like the one of the things is when I was with Russell was always a really good high energy guy. Russell was very good at motivating people. Jimmy Garoppolo, believe it or not, Jimmy G was really good. He could have you run through a brick wall.
By that.
Yeah, Jimmy G was his pregame speeches, great.
Yeah.
That motivated the rest of the team. Guys was like, all right, we want to go out there and we want to succeed. But if you don't have that guy, if the best player on the team is a quiet guy and don't really say things, like for example, personally, I've only been around Deshaun Watson one time. I was in Houston for 1 week, so take it with a grain of salt. Very cool guy. Conversations in the locker room, great. When it comes to getting ready for a game, he ain't. I don't know if he can give that pregame speech that's gonna get me fired up. I don't think I'm gonna be like, I'm about to run through a wall. Like I don't think he's that. He doesn't come off as that type of guy to me.
Yeah.
Whereas Jameis did. So Jameis gets out there. They go out there and they beat Baltimore or whatever the case may be.
Can you win consistently without a quarterback that is that type of leader?
Can you win consistently?
Yeah, without that type of quarterback. Even if he's not the most talented guy in the world.
If he's not the most talented guy, but he's a fiery guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did it with Baker.
Yeah. I mean, but
Baker's pretty talented.
But Baker is talented.
We denigrate his skill set.
No. I'm saying as far as like a top 5 quarterback. I think that's what he was saying.
Well, but I would say that Baker is probably a much better leader now than he was here in Cleveland. I'm not saying he was bad in Cleveland.
I don't know that.
He was up and down in Cleveland. He had some good moments.
I agree.
Some bad moments.
I agree. But he had that stuff to him though.
And he clearly has it in Tampa.
Yeah,
I
think that his, what would you call that? The fire in the belly, if you will.
It was great
that he's had. What needed to be sort of reined in a little bit, because I think it can be a detriment if it's too much. You know what I mean? And he now has more of a calm, cool, collected attitude, and then picks his spots where you step in and because he had a little bit of a temper, I think.
Yeah. Everything was about that chip on the shoulder.
It became too personal that it hurt the team. I think now he's learned.
You know what settled that?
What's that?
That contract.
Yeah.
It was finally like the first time outside. I know first round draft pick, but it was like the first time where somebody was like, "We believe in you."
Right.
Like, here's the money.
Yeah, I mean, it is hard to have a chip on your shoulder when you're the number 1 overall pick.
Right.
But I think he kept creating. He felt like that was what he had to do.
He was with the Browns, so
Sure.
it was like, I gotta have a chip
But he had the walk-on mentality his whole life,
Yep.
and so he felt like he had to always create that, even if it was superficial.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And again, it was up and down. Like when things were going well, when he was playing well in 2020, it was a
great.
positive.
Yeah.
When things went sour the next year and he had a bad attitude,
It was terrible.
and he pissed off teammates, then it was bad. But now, after going through what he went through between the injury season, which was a bad season, the next year, which was a total disaster, he is, found his sweet spot, it seems, in terms of how to, this wasn't really about Baker, but it was
just about like I say, with the coaching staff, I think is right. I think they, for the most part, I know that's hard to believe with what we just seen last year, but I think those 3 coaches that I named for a rookie quarterback, I think that those will be great because you got 2 guys that was in college that understands the game. You got Kevin, who's a really good, smart guy that can really talk to you about the NFL level. And I think those 3 guys collectively can get a rookie quarterback to play really well for a rookie season. I worry about the 52 other people that's already on the roster. Like, that's where I think it's sour a little bit.
Obviously, in the last couple of months, I've been up and down on my thoughts on Kevin Stefanski. I had always thought he was a very good coach. I kind of lost faith in him a little bit this year. I decided in the end, I thought he should have been fired, and then I was like, well, I kind of thought he was a good coach before this year. Let's give him another year. But I'll say this, again, when you asked Dustin, like, what makes him a good coach, it's funny to me because every time that question gets asked,
it's a good question, isn't it?
The answer from somebody is almost, it wasn't from Dustin, which was good, but
Thank you.
Almost every person that answers that question says, well, he's 2-time coach of the year. As if that means he's a good coach.
So can I just add one more thing to this that I want to add to my take on it?
Yeah.
Is that why is he a good coach? Because no one's won here. And he's been the first coach to come in here and be able to show that they can win and they can turn some things around. Yeah, it's gone backwards, I think, in the last couple seasons. But to be able to do that as young as him, you have to be a good coach.
Right, and I have always...
Coach of the year stuff, that's bullshit. I don't care about that.
Yeah, that's
everyone
so
wins
stupid.
that. Bad coaches
Right.
win that.
Right, it's just who had a surprising season.
Right.
That's all it is.
Pretty much.
Has Andy Reid ever won Coach of the Year?
He may have.
I'll tell you one sec.
He may have, but whatever. The point is, like...
By the way, Rob Parker, with one of the worst takes of all time yesterday, saying Andy Reid should step down as head coach.
He has won Coach of the Year
Okay, how many times?
once, and it was 22 years ago.
Yeah, once.
Was it
The
Philly?
guy's clearly
Was
the
he
best
with
coach
Philly?
in the NFL.
22
Yeah,
years ago,
2002.
Philly,
But anyway, like, I've said this a million times. You guys have probably heard me say this. I have always felt, and it's kind of similar to what I said about like Jamarcus Russell and Joe Burrow. I think there's a couple, very few quarterbacks that it almost doesn't matter what team they go to, and there's a couple quarterbacks from a bad perspective, and then most of them are going to be better or worse. I think it's the same thing with coaches. I think there's 3 or 4 coaches that are great, will have a level of success no matter what kind of talent they have. I think there's 3 or 4 coaches that suck. They should have never been head coaches and will never have success anywhere. And I think there's probably 20-something coaches that are some level of good, and it will ebb and flow based on their experience, how patient you are with them, and how much talent they have at that time. And I think, in my opinion, Kevin's not in either of those extreme groups. He's in that group of most coaches in the NFL. He's a good coach, not a great coach. He's not Andy Reid. He's not Sean McVay. He's not, reinventing the wheel. My biggest beef really that's piled up with Kevin Stefanski is just we've seen now a pattern of when it ended badly with Baker. At the time, I was so down on Baker and I believed in Stefanski that I didn't open my mind, if I'm really being honest about it now, thinking about it, I didn't open my mind to the possibility that, to me, it was 100% Baker's fault, the way it ended. In my mind, it was all Baker, because I was down on Baker, I had soured on him, I was sick of his nonsense, and he had a bad year, and I was like, well, this is... But really, now we saw how it ended with him. Obviously, Kevin Stefanski and Deshaun Watson had a wonky relationship. And even with Jameis, like, all of a sudden Jameis becomes the quarterback, and now
He give a play.
you give a play calling. There were rumors circulating that media members have heard this, that Stefanski didn't like Jameis. Mm-hmm. So now it's 3 quarterbacks that there was something there. So maybe Stefanski deserves at least some level of blame for why these quarterback-coach relationships have soured.
If you're the head coach, you deserve blame and credit.
100.
Like you,
yes.
you got to get 100% of all of it.
That's right.
Both ways.
Yeah. That's right.
I just, when you put it that way, I think Kevin is one of those guys that he sees it a certain way. I think he's open to listen to people's opinion. He's not one of those guys. After the couple of times that I've had conversations with him, he is very open to listening to what you have to say, and he won't discredit you in any way or anything like that. He comes off as a really good guy in that situation. Yeah. However, I think that for some odd reason, it's just a disconnect. Like, it's been a disconnect between him and quarterbacks to where he wants something to be done a certain way, and for some odd reason, that quarterback just don't get it done. And I don't understand why they can't get on the same page with that.
Yeah.
But that's what gives me hope because of the 2 hires of having Tommy Rees and having Musgrave. It's like, okay, you got 2 guys that, okay, maybe Kevin, I said this a couple weeks ago, I said maybe Kevin just can't communicate and get fully to a quarterback what he wants. He can't articulate it correctly. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just guessing here.
Sure.
But maybe he can say it to Tommy Rees or Musgrave, and they can be like, I get it. And then I can say it to him, and now he understands it. So, boom, now we connect.
Right.
So I think that those 2 hires were very important to have. I know Tommy Rees was here last year, but he was working with tight ends. Now that he's back.
Yeah, it was his first year.
Yeah, now that he's the OC and things like that, he'll have much more say. Obviously, he'll probably have more talk with quarterbacks and things like that. But I think that is going to help the quarterback be successful more because it's just maybe we say all these great things about Kevin, but maybe that's the one thing that he just can't articulate exactly what he wants from his quarterback. Yeah. But now these other 2 people can.
Yeah.
They can be the translators.
I was just going to say the same
in a
thing.
way, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and I think also
because what gets me is everybody knows that Kevin Stefanski hates turnovers, yet every quarterback has turned the ball over.
Yeah.
So like,
except for Jacoby,
there's clearly some type of disconnect.
Deshaun didn't turn it over. The one thing he didn't do.
Well, yeah, but Deshaun played so bad he didn't turn it over. But and I think part of the issue, and this will be gone this year because he won't. I mean, he'll technically still be on the roster, but he won't be there. There was the organization, especially this past season, was handling Deshaun Watson with kid gloves, and
that was a big mistake.
I think that was a huge mistake, and that's out the window.
Yeah,
and maybe that was part of some of the, the frustration and part of the miscommunication.
That's how players respond. Obviously, there's certain players that from being around people. Like, there's some people you can yell at, and some people you can't yell at. Like, maybe Deshaun is just one of those guys that, like, if you coach him too hard, like, he just crumbles. So, like, maybe that's why he was like, well, this isn't typically how I coach, but for him, I have to make this exception. So, like, that's what it was. Like, I was hearing the rumors about interceptions and
they weren't pointing out his mistakes.
Yeah, all that stuff. So it was like, okay, maybe he was just one of those guys that couldn't handle those things, which I'm not saying that's right or wrong or none of that. But everybody's different.
If you're a quarterback and you can't handle criticism in the video room, that's a problem.
I understand. I'm just saying, like, certain people are different. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
People's different. Me, you can cuss me out all you want. It doesn't bother me because I understand what the message is. Sometimes I need to be cussed out. One thing I don't do is I don't take compliments well. I don't.
I can see that.
I don't. Like, I'd rather you just tell me the bad. I don't really want to hear the good.
Well, that's not good. You got to work on that.
I know. There's a lot of things I got to work on.
We all do. All right. Mike, what do you got for us?
If you guys want some more Cavs coverage, we're going to talk a little bit about what George Niang said in his latest podcast about being traded later in the show. But over the All-Star break, the Cavs don't play for a week, but Jason and I will still be doing an Ultimate Cavaliers show at some point before the end of the week. So
have hats been banned on the Ultimate Cavs show?
TBD. You got to tune in to find out whether or not Jason
he came
will be
here
able to wear a
yesterday
hat.
with
That could be a thing. Like, you know how when you go to the Yankees, you can't have facial hair. If you go on the Ultimate Cav show, you can't wear a hat.
I'll never go on.
All right, Tyvis, I saved this topic for you because I saw you tweeting about it, and I wanted to start with you on this one. But in a ton of the most recent mock drafts, including Field Yates' 3.0 mock draft that came out yesterday, he had the Browns selecting Abdul Carter at number 2. Lance Zierlein of NFL.com also had the Browns going with Abdul Carter at number 2. And there's a pretty big split in Browns fans right now that half want a quarterback, half think Abdul Carter is the right pick at 2. For the sake of this, let's pretend that Myles Garrett is back next season. Mm-hmm. And understand that's a big, but just for the sake of this conversation, let's take that out of the equation. Myles Garrett's back. Because there is a chance that Myles Garrett, for financial reasons, does not end up getting traded. Tyvis, if Myles Garrett is still on the roster, does drafting Abdul Carter make sense, or there are too many holes elsewhere that the Browns would need to fill and could possibly fill with the number 2 pick when their pass rush, at a minimum, with Myles on the roster, is at least league average?
So I'm going to answer the question by saying this. I had this same argument. I went on Cleveland Browns Daily yesterday with Nathan and Bo, and we had this discussion because Nathan's on this whole.
I saw it.
Yeah, he's on this whole, like, you got to get a quarterback at 2.
No matter what.
And my thing is, what my whole point of the whole thing is that if the quarterback that you love isn't that good or isn't worth the number 2 pick and he's going to be there in the second round, take him in the second round. Like, you don't have to take him there. You can take him at 34.
But you can't ever know that for sure.
I know, but yes, you can. Because if your guy is Jalen Milroe, you think Jalen Milroe going in the first round?
Well, how do we know, like, who's picking, who's the lowest, who's got the latest pick in the draft that could potentially take a quarterback? Pittsburgh?
Probably.
How do we know Pittsburgh doesn't love him?
What playoff teams need a quarterback?
How do we know Tennessee, who's picking 1 pick before the Browns, is thinking the same thing and they're going to take him?
The Rams at 26.
How do we know the Rams? That's a great one with Sean McVay, great coach. How do we know Sean McVay's not going to grab him with Matthew Stafford towards the back end of his career? There's no way you know that for sure. Well, but I get your point.
My whole thing is, I think everybody has. Listen, these is professional. This front office is professional. They know which round certain people are going. You know how I know they know?
Yeah.
Because, heck, Dane Brugler, when I do the Browns draft show, they give us this thick pack. It's the thickest packet I've ever seen in my life. It's Dane Brugler. He got all the players in there, what round they're going to be selected.
Yeah.
And I promise you, that man probably like 90% correct on what round people go. It's unbelievable. That's why I respect Dane so much, because Dane, you be on the money with some of the stuff you be coming up with. So if Dane Brugler can have that, then you mean to tell me a front office don't know if a quarterback is going to go in the first or second round? They know. You know. You kind of know. And if the guy that you love is going to be there, why waste it on the second pick where you can get him in the second round at 33? Is it that big of a gap in these quarterbacks that you can't? Because a lot of people say that none of these quarterbacks are franchise quarterbacks. That's what they say. None of them are franchise.
But it doesn't matter what the general public
I agree. It's up by what you say.
Right,
but if the Browns say none of these guys is franchise quarterbacks,
then I wouldn't take any of them.
That's my whole point. So that's why I would take the talent at 2 with Abdul Carter. Okay. Now, to answer your question, does Abdul Carter solve the Browns' biggest issues? No, their biggest issue is the quarterback. Everybody knows that. Like that, no. But I tell you what, it would be nice to see him and Myles on the same D-line. Obviously, that would increase the defense. If Mike Hall continues to take another step, and Dalvin Tomlinson is still there, you have a very solid defensive line. Everybody knows that if a D-line is great, take the Super Bowl. Josh Sweat went out there and changed the whole game. Von Miller changed the whole game. You got a good defensive line, and you're hitting on some of those draft picks. It really changes the entirety of the defense. What changed about the Browns defense, not this past season, the year before? Myles ended up having the 14 sacks. You've seen some production from Alex Wright. All these guys started to get to the quarterback, and it made everything easier to where the offense only needed to score 14 to 21 points, and it changed everything. So I don't mind them taking Abdul Carter at 2, which is what I said. But if they want to go out there and they feel Shedeur Sanders is the guy, I'm cool with that too. But to answer your question, no, it does not solve the Browns' biggest issue.
Right, but whether they're keeping Myles or not, would that have any effect?
No.
In whether you draft Abdul Carter?
No.
Okay, Dustin, would it?
No, I don't think that Myles Garrett being on the roster or not would determine whether or not if I'm the Browns, I would take him.
Because Myles Garrett ain't going to be here when the dome open anyways.
Well,
and that's
that's
where everybody is.
That's true.
I'm not letting a player on this roster determine, we need a quarterback. We know that.
Yeah.
Okay. If they're not going to take a quarterback at 2 because of the things that Tyvus feels and some of the other people feel about these quarterbacks, then you're going to take somebody else or you're going to trade out of that spot. Abdul Carter is awesome. Why wouldn't you want an awesome player if you're not going to take a quarterback there? You have to take somebody. I mean, I do think that he's probably the best player you can get. Everyone's all high on Travis Hunter, which I think he's a great player too. Don't know if that's the fit for the Browns, but no, I think Myles Garrett has nothing to do with what the Browns are going to do at 2.
Go ahead.
Before you go, I will answer by saying that also in the same breath, if they didn't take Abdul Carter, all the experts say that this year edge rushers you can get you a good edge rusher because it's like 100 of them in this draft. So if you don't get Abdul Carter, you can get a good productive edge rusher in the second round as well. Go ahead.
Yeah. So let's see. Okay. So my thought on this is very simple. If you're not, quarterback changes everything. Quarterback moves. In other words, if I were drafting, I'm always taking the best player available. The only thing that changes that is the quarterback. All right? But if I've decided that Abdul Carter is the best player in this draft, if I've decided 2 things, that I'm not taking quarterback, I don't think any of them are good enough that I want to use a first-round pick on him. That's what I've decided as the GM. My next conversation is, who is the best player?
Yes.
Who is the best player in this draft? I don't care what position he is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if that's the number 1 or number 7 need. I want elite talent.
Yes.
And you can't. I think if you choose outside of quarterback, if you take position over talent, you're screwing up.
Okay.
That cannot, this idea. I've heard a couple of these mock draft guys. I was listening to our boys Nick Wilson and Jonathan Peterlin yesterday for a little bit, and they had on. I don't remember who it was. I think it was somebody from CBS that I can't think of.
Riveting interview, huh?
That was fine. It was just
Ryan Wilson?
No, I don't remember who it was. It's irrelevant. But he said to them, well, I'd take Abdul Carter over Travis Hunter because pass rusher is more important than wide receiver or corner, wherever you think.
Okay.
And to me, that's crazy. If you think Travis Hunter is going to be an all-pro player, and you think he's going to be better than the pass rusher, I'm taking Travis Hunter. I don't care that. This is not quarterback. Quarterback is way more important than everything else. The rest of the positions, the difference in important is not as big a gap as it is from quarterback. So, yes, is a pass rusher maybe more important than a corner? Sure. But if I've decided that Travis Hunter is a once-in-a-generation player, and I'm going to either start him at corner and have a package of plays for him at wide receiver, or I'm going to start him at wide receiver and then play him on third down at corner or whatever I'm going to do, there's no way I'm taking Abdul Carter if I think Travis Hunter's the better player. And I don't care what I have at corner, and I don't care what I have at wide receiver. Give me the better player.
I agree. Well said. I think that is spot on. And I will say, when we talk about we always talk about this quarterback thing and all those things, and I remember we did the exercise where we was when we looked at all the starting quarterbacks and how 25 of them was in the first round.
Right. Yeah.
And I thought about Jalen Hurts was a second round pick.
He was, yeah.
And he was high in the second round. But
Yes.
the Browns had a luxury of having a high second round pick
Yes.
this year. So if you want to take something you learned from the Super Bowl, from the Eagles, you can still get you a good quarterback with that 30.
There's been some good quarterbacks early second round.
34th pick. So
Drew Brees was an early second round
that's what I'm
pick.
saying. So it's not the end all be. At the end of the day, it's about getting the guy that's gonna fit that. Like I say, what I've learned is that for some odd reason people can't read defenses. If your quarterback can at least read a defense, with Kevin Stefanski's offense, you should be remotely good. You should be at least decent at best. It's not like Jacoby Brissett was the greatest thing in the world, but yet he was a very productive player. Case Keenum, Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco was a Super Bowl champion, so I can't say him. But all these other guys that's come in and let's look pretty decently. They all knew how to read defense, so.
Yeah,
can't miss that layup. That should be the minimum when you talk. When you go when you go to the combine and you do these interviews and you tell them, "Hey, what defense is this?" This is what you do. You look at it pre-snap. You say, "What do you think that defense is in?" He should be like, "Oh, it's 2 high safeties. All right, look like it could be cover 2. Okay, cool. Snap the ball. If you look at that safety, one of them should rotate. If they stay high, you should know it is. But I would let the play go for maybe 1.5 to 2 seconds, and then I would say, pause it. What coverage are they in? And I need to know, like right then and there, can you see it?
And if you can't, you're out.
If you can't see that, then I can't. Like, we're not about to go do this song and dance again.
Right. All right, we're going to bring in Spencer German here in a second. In the meanwhile, guys, let me ask you this quick question. Travis Hunter. I can't kill time with Travis Hunter? Oh, let's take the graphic full there. Go ahead. Sorry. Look at that. Subscriptions. $1.99 a month for the starters tier. Honestly, the starters tier is not really good value. You should do the coaches tier. The coaches tier, let's put that up. Nobody cares about the starters tier. It's only $3 more a month, and you get to watch the best thing about being a member is that you get the overtime content, which is, give or take an hour a week.
It's off the rails at times.
Totally back on. And overtime can be completely off the rails. You never know what we're going to get into overtime. We curse more in overtime. And, the fact that, anyway, it's another story for another day. Spencer German is the new host of the Locked On Browns podcast. Spencer, how are you?
What's going on, guys? Good to be here.
So,
how you doing?
Good to see you again, man.
I know. Long time no see, Bull.
I know. It's been a while. How's it going?
Can't complain. Enjoying it. Podcast is doing pretty well, I think.
Yeah.
I know Trevor Lawrence is a big topic today, which ironically it times out well because I talked about it this morning on the podcast.
Look at that.
You did. Look at that.
Look at that.
We'll add you.
It all lines up, right?
So Spencer, we'll jump into this conference. You mentioned Trevor Lawrence because there was a report. I don't know who it was from. Somebody. I think
his name was Ryan Burr. His name was.
Yeah, I don't know who the hell he is. I think he was the 14th president. Oh, that's Aaron Burr. I don't think he was the 14th.
No, he's the one who got into a duel with Hamilton. That's who.
Yeah, was Aaron Burr even president? Wasn't there a Burr that was president?
He wasn't president. That's why he got into the duel with.
All right.
Yeah.
What was that, Mike?
Spencer's right, and the guy's name's Ryan Burr.
Yeah, Ryan Burr. Anyway,
Bill Burr.
So Ryan Burr, whoever the hell he is, was saying that the Steelers apparently called the Jaguars and were interested in Trevor Lawrence. So Spencer, let's start with you. I don't know that the Browns could even afford it with the cap. I don't even know how realistic. If you're the Browns, would you call the Jaguars?
I think the cap thing is interesting because everyone always says that, but there's always ways to manipulate it, right? Like there's always ways to make it work.
There usually are, but if you have to trade Myles Garrett,
that's true.
I don't know how much more they can manipulate at this point.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But
but let's assume there is a way.
Yeah, if there's a way. I think the most important thing here is like, what's it going to cost you? I think Ryan reported the Steelers were offering their first this year and their second this year. Is that enough? I don't know. I don't know like what the conversation was like from that point on.
Yeah.
My biggest thing for the Browns is like if they're asking for 2 firsts and they're like, hey, we want your first this year and your first next year. I don't know if I want to do that. Partially, I think there's just PTSD from you traded 3 firsts for Deshaun, and that obviously hasn't gone well. You're going to give up now 5 years worth of first-round picks for Deshaun and Trevor Lawrence. Now, the other alternative could be like maybe you just trade the second pick now, and you get like a bunch of picks, and you can maybe get another second next year, and then you could be like, okay, we'll trade you this year and next year, and you still have another one next year. So that's maybe an alternative route to take it. But I think the biggest thing is the asking price, because I almost am inclined to just be like, if you really like one of these guys at the top of the draft, Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, and you feel like he's going to at least be on par with what Trevor Lawrence is at this point, like maybe a top 10 quarterback, it might just behoove you to just like go through with hey, we feel good about this guy. We think we have a top 10 quarterback. Let's start fresh with somebody young and new.
Yeah, I do think if you traded for like in theory the second pick.
Threw for 2,000 yards this year.
He was hurt though. He missed 7 games.
But he's only had one good season in 4 years.
Yeah.
I think that's terrible.
Now I'll say this: to me, in theory, let's say the Jaguars are open to trading him. The second pick in the draft to me is enough. I mean, are you trading just the second pick? I guess the question is, do you believe Trevor Lawrence is a franchise quarterback? However your definition of that is.
No,
I see it.
I don't.
I see it.
He could be. I think he could be. I'm not sure.
The talent's there.
Yeah, I would say that I would bet more on him becoming a franchise quarterback over any of the unknowns in this draft.
Well, if that's the case, then I would trade the second pick for him. If you believe.
I would certainly be open to it.
Yeah. Tyvis?
The second pick for him?
Yeah.
It's better than any quarterback you get in this draft.
Right, but that doesn't mean you should definitely do it. It's not just is he better, it's
do I believe that this guy is going to be the guy that can take us to the promised land?
do you think you can win a Super Bowl with Trevor Lawrence?
Nope.
Okay, then I'm not making that trade. Then I wouldn't do it. Spencer?
Yeah, so what's interesting with Trevor is the year he was at his best.
Yeah.
They ran a lot more like intermediate stuff. He did really well with like RPO style stuff. And then they got away from that this past year for whatever reason. They were throwing the ball a lot more downfield.
Guess what we don't do.
But I was going to say, like, I feel like in Kevin Stefanski's system, where there's a little bit more structure. I mean, we saw what he was able to do with Baker Mayfield early on, even if he wasn't necessarily a perfect fit for everything he wants to do with his offense. I think Trevor would actually be able to have success in this offense. Now, I guess to your point, like the question becomes, do you think he can win you a Super Bowl? And I guess the other part of that is like, do you think he's better than the guys in this draft class? Sitting here for me, I think he is probably better than the guys in this draft class. There's just a lot of unknowns. But again, like they're the ones evaluating it like way more in depth than any of us are. If they feel like they love Shedeur Sanders and he's at least on par with what they think Trevor Lawrence is or is going to be, then I guess you probably just go again with like the guy you're going to take it to. But I don't know. For me, it's about price though. If it's only going to cost you like this year's first round pick and maybe a couple other ancillary picks, fine. But if it's going to cost you like 2 firsts, like then I'm out.
Yeah, to me, I think there's a possibility Trevor Lawrence could be a franchise, when I say again, to me you have to have a tier 1 or tier 2 quarterback to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
Where
there's
is
only he's not in either of those tiers.
Okay.
He's at best the tier 3
I think he's
quarterback.
probably tier 3.
And in my opinion, I'll put it this way, Tyvis. In my opinion, Baker Mayfield is near the top of tier 3. I don't even have him as a tier 2. And I think Baker Mayfield is clearly better than Trevor Lawrence. So I would not trade for Trevor Lawrence. I would not trade the second pick. Even though I acknowledge, as Dustin says, I think there's a chance he could still be that quarterback. But we've seen him for 4 years. Now, I don't know that it's been the best coaching. But then again, the last coach he had won a Super Bowl in Philadelphia, which is certainly more than Kevin Stefanski's done.
I mean it's a guy, 4 years.
Yeah.
He's had, you said, one really, really good year in there.
Yeah.
Right, in those 4 years.
The first year with Doug Peterson, I think, was his best year.
And he's had some injuries. I know this much. The guy's a winner, dude. Like, you can say what you want about him. I remember him coming out of Clemson and everyone saying that he was the next great quarterback. And he came to the league, and it took a second, but then he became a really good player that everyone was talking about. And it's like, I'm not going to sell on Trevor Lawrence after 4 years. He hasn't been in the league 8 years, okay?
No.
It's 4 years, and he's had, 2 head coaches?
Yeah.
In the 4 years?
Yeah.
2.
This will be his third in 5 years.
Third.
Yeah.
I don't know, guys. I mean, if
I
you
would
could
stick
get him
with him if I were Jacksonville.
Honestly,
I would too. If I'm Jacksonville, I'm not trading.
You kind of got to
agree.
throw out year 1 because like year 1 was such a disaster.
Disaster,
So it's kind of like 3 years where you feel like you really can evaluate his play, right?
And to Spencer's point about the RPO stuff, which is what he really does well, if they can get to back doing more of that, get back to doing more of that, I think that gives them an advantage, or would give whoever team he ends up going to an advantage, because he's very athletic.
Who is their coach now?
Liam Cohen.
Yeah,
the
the
Buccaneers
dude,
OC.
Bucks
Oh,
The
OC.
dude who had the real, the guy with the real creepy Duval, yeah.
I mean, how can I
That's
trust
it.
that guy?
I mean, he worked with Baker, right?
Yeah, well, what was the coach? What was the coach of the Jets?
Adam Gase.
Yeah, with the weird eyes.
Crazy eyes.
Like, he was done. He was done after the crazy eyes. I think Liam Cohen's done already. There's no way that guy could have success after
You don't
that.
believe in him?
I will say,
no, he's done.
the last time we judged coaches based off of their press conferences were Nick Sirianni and Dan Campbell, and those two have been okay. So I'll give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt.
Did you judge Dan Campbell poorly on his press conference?
I mean, I think people were kind of like, who is this dude who's just like coming in musclehead talking about biting people's kneecaps, and now it's worked out pretty well. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Like a press conference isn't the end all be all, but yeah, he's off to a bad start. We'll put it that way.
I mean, that was beyond cringeworthy.
Yeah.
Spencer, what quarterback in this draft, or we was talking about the number 2 pick, where are you at with it? Are you 100% Shedeur Sanders? You have Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter. Obviously, it's a bunch of mock drafts. Where are you at? If you were making the pick for the Cleveland Browns, who would you take and get that card?
So this is a great question, too, because this was another thing I talked about on the podcast today. I'm kind of at a point where it's like you can only do 2 things in my mind. Like there's endless options of like guys you could take there, but the only options for me are like you either take a quarterback or you trade back. Like if you're at 2, I don't care if like Abdul Carter's there. Like the drop off from like you could technically trade with the Giants, right, and only drop one spot, and then Abdul Carter could still be there. But if you stay put and you just take a player, you're wasting an opportunity, in my opinion, to accumulate and fill some of those other needs that you have, essentially. And if you're not taking a quarterback at 2, you're basically saying, like, we need more than a quarterback. So it doesn't make sense just to stay put and, like, take a Travis Hunter, take an Abdul Carter. Like, is the drop-off from 2 to 6, if you go to 6 with the Raiders, that much in terms of the talent you're getting? Like you could get a Will Campbell or somebody who's going to like help at least fill a need and could be like a foundational player for you regardless. So if they don't love it, then I get if they don't love any of these quarterbacks, I get maybe trading back. But for me, I've kind of come around to a point where I'm like, I think you got to take one. It's kind of that theory of like, just if you don't have one, you just keep taking one until you do. Mm-hmm. And I know there's a lot more risk because it's the number 2 overall pick. But the more I research these guys, the more I study the tape on them, the more I hear about like what the Browns are kind of saying about it. And Andrew Berry talked about how he does see at least one starter in this group. It feel like Shedeur Sanders feels like he's like a perfect fit for what Kevin Stefanski's offense wants to be. What it wants to do. I go back to what Tommy Rees said at his press conference where he was like, I want somebody who's a good decision maker. Shedeur has that. I get there's a little bit of questions with the arm talent. And on the flip side, you have that with Cam Ward, but I just think Cam Ward still has a little bit too much recklessness in him. Yep. And maybe that's something you can coach out of him, but there's also the only example I can think of as somebody who like changed that at the next level is Josh Allen the last couple of years has kind of toned it down a little bit. So I think that's harder to do than maybe what it seems, essentially.
Yeah, the other thing about the Trevor Lawrence angle here is if they decide to do that, that would be more in line with the thought process of we're not going to tear it down and rebuild. So I guess the question would be, is it possible that if you, again, a lot would have to happen, but if you got Lawrence, that means you're trying to win the next year.
Yeah.
And you actually could, and so you're onto something here. Myles Garrett. Could you sell that to Myles Garrett? I
think so. I actually put out there like a theory that now I do think he's being serious. Like I think he wants to win more than anything.
But he could win. I guarantee you he would rather win in Cleveland.
For sure.
He's been for 8 years.
Well, and to this theory I was throwing out there, like what if Myles' trade request is more so about like it's about like making it clear I want to win, but like if he's putting the Browns' feet to the fire a little bit more, like we don't know what the plan they presented him with was. What if they just said like, yeah, we're really gonna look hard at like veterans and we'll see what the draft class has in store? Because they didn't even know when they had those conversations with him like how they were gonna feel maybe about a Shedeur Sanders or a Cam Ward. But what if like all this was just to force the Browns to like go all out on like finding that quarterback? Because that's the other thing he was on Radio Row talking about. I want to play with a great quarterback. Yeah. He talked about playing with Jaden Daniels. A year ago this time, like I think we all probably thought Jaden Daniels had a chance to be good, but did we all think Jaden Daniels was going to take the Commanders to the NFC Championship game? Probably not. So like who's to say that like he's not just trying to force them down the route of take a quarterback at 2, and if you get me that Jaden Daniels, and then maybe we can talk again. So I'm kind of wondering if he's like forcing their hand a little bit more to find that quarterback. And if it ends up being Trevor Lawrence, I think 100% you could sell him on that.
Maybe. Because at least he's a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Who's been in the playoffs.
But we need to all live in the reality of the situation. Okay? Trevor Lawrence is not winning 3 games in the playoffs.
In the AFC?
There's no chance that's happening. We all know this.
He got to be
so let's stop it.
Lamar, Burrow,
how do you say
Jackson.
That so definitively?
I say everything.
Josh Allen.
You know that.
I know
Mahomes.
Okay, fine. Yeah, what do you think the percentage chance are of Trevor Lawrence leading the Browns to the Super Bowl next year?
Next year?
Yeah.
I think it would be close to 0 with any quarterback.
That's what I'm saying. ultimately,
So why are we playing the season then?
no. Because,
Unless you get Mahomes,
you gotta
right?
play the season. Ultimately,
Yeah, that was
the
sarcastic.
Browns' only chance in the long term is to get a quarterback that is at least close to what Mahomes, Jackson, Burrow, and Allen are. Close. I'm not even saying they have to be that good. They got to be close. That's why they traded for Deshaun Watson, because in Houston, he was talked about in that tier 1 group. Trevor Lawrence isn't. Now, maybe you think he can be. If you think he can be close to those guys, then yes. If Andrew Berry is convinced that with the right coaching, with Kevin Stefanski, that Trevor Lawrence could be right there just behind those guys, then okay. But so far what we've seen from Trevor Lawrence, he's not anywhere close to any of those guys. And I'm ignoring Justin Herbert, who's also way better. This is not the NFC. Jaden Daniels is
Which
don't
one of
grow
them
on
blew
trees.
the league in the playoffs?
What's that?
Herbert, the one that blew the league?
Yes.
Was it to Jacksonville?
Against Jacksonville, yeah.
Okay.
I'm curious, Bull,
Yeah.
where do you put Jalen Hurts in like the tiers?
Tier 2.
Tier 2?
Yeah.
Okay. So
That's
if,
where, for
so
me, everybody,
if you think Trevor Lawrence can get into tier 2, then I think
Yeah.
that you can talk yourself into it, because
But
that's the key thing. Like,
Yes.
Jalen Hurts was a guy who coming out like he was a second round pick.
Right.
People were kind of iffy on him, and they've been iffy on him even still. Like even going to the Super Bowl last week, people were like, "Is this guy really legit?" And then he
that's
played
true.
really well for the second time he was in the Super Bowl, and it was like, okay, like now we got to give him some respect. And he obviously talked a lot about that.
Right,
but
right.
I think that's what's interesting is like, yeah, and I understand like the Eagles
Yeah.
have a juggernaut team, so that takes a lot more from like Andrew Berry constructing the team. There's a whole
Yeah.
other angle there of like, do you trust him to do that? But if you think Trevor Lawrence can at least get into tier 2, I think you can talk yourself into Trevor
Absolutely.
Lawrence.
If like I said, if Andrew Berry thinks Trevor Lawrence, instead of saying tier 2, you want to say top 10, because
Yeah.
tier 2 probably ends somewhere around
5
10.
and 5 sort of splits.
Right, yes. If you think he could be that good, then I would absolutely trade the second pick for him. If I were the GM, based on the knowledge I have, and he's got way more knowledge than I do, because he's got access to information that I don't, and he's got scouts that I don't, but what I've seen from Trevor Lawrence doesn't make me think he's ever going to be that good. He'll be fine. He'll be a starter in the league, and he'll go to the playoffs occasionally. That's just how I see it. Doesn't mean I'm going to end up being right, but we all got to make our opinions. If I was the decision maker, my opinion would be he's ultimately not good enough. The thing with Jalen Hurts is, personally, I think he's been underrated a lot and overly criticized. However, he has two things going huge in his favor. Number one, obviously, the Eagles are as good, if not better, at drafting than any team in football, and they put incredible talent around him, which is almost impossible to do, how good they've been. Number two, which this is for every team in the NFC, they're in the NFC. All the best quarterbacks are in the AFC.
Yeah.
So the Browns have to overcome something that the Eagles and the Niners don't. And Washington, as good as Jaden Daniels was, if you would put Jaden Daniels, who was an equivalent team to Washington last year, the Titans, is that an equivalent? I mean, give me your equivalent.
Yeah, probably. I think that's probably fair.
Like, if he were on the Titans, would the Titans have gone to the playoffs? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I don't know that he would've.
Yeah, in the AFC, probably not. I would probably say.
Maybe because that division is not great.
True.
And Houston wasn't fantastic this year. But in the NFC, you don't have to deal with this gauntlet of ridiculous quarterbacks. This, in the same vein, like everybody's made this, Joe Burrow didn't even get to the playoffs. He's great. Okay, it was a unique circumstance, right? If the Bengals were in the NFC, does anybody think they wouldn't have made the playoffs this year?
No, I wouldn't have made it for sure.
Of course.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. So that's what makes it tricky for the Browns. They're in a very good division in the best conference with all the best quarterbacks. And that's what puts the Browns in a real tricky spot. Because it's almost like, and maybe they don't think about it this way. In my mind, it's like, I got to get a great quarterback, or what's the point of just getting a guy who's a little better than what I have? And maybe that's the wrong attitude that I have. But ultimately, if I'm going to use that second pick on a quarterback, whether it's to draft somebody or to use it for Trevor Lawrence, I better be pretty confident that guy can make a run and beat these good quarterbacks in the playoffs.
Well, that's why I think
Remember
Trey.
the run, or not the run,
Yeah.
but the comeback against Herbert that Lawrence led in the playoffs?
Yes.
Okay.
It was good.
You remember that?
I do.
Okay, so that's in there, right?
That's the only win he's ever had in the
He threw
playoffs.
3 picks in the first half and then threw
Yeah.
like 4
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
touchdowns.
And battled back.
Taylor 2 has.
Go ahead, Spencer. What
Same.
No, I was going to say, I think that's what makes trading it for somebody like Lawrence tougher, because you at least have a sample size of him in the NFL where you can look and say, like, okay, we it's the same sort of thing we do with Baker all those years, right? Like, we got to year 5 with Baker, and it was like, we're still asking ourselves, is this guy a franchise quarterback? Should you invest in that?
Yeah.
So that's why, for me, like, if you're talking about what are you trying to use the number 2 pick for, draft a guy or trade for Trevor Lawrence, that's again why I think I lean like you're better off drafting a guy, because if there's this untapped potential of like there's something there that we don't know yet, like he hasn't played at the NFL level, we think we can get him to that top 10
The
area.
unknown is always more exciting.
Yeah, like that's always more exciting. There's always more hope with that than there is with like a guy like Trevor Lawrence. Even though I like Trevor Lawrence, but I will say this. As we talk through like these veteran options, and I know like none of them are really good, right? No. Like you bring up Kirk Cousins. The only reason I like Kirk Cousins is because you're going to get him on like the vet minimum, and it's like for $1.2 million, why not give it a shot with Kevin Stefanski's offense, right? But I get they're all bad. If you're telling me like what veteran options are out there, if you're trying for like a quick fix, I do think Trevor Lawrence is probably the best one out there if he's actually available via trade.
And I would say this last thing, and go ahead, Tyvus. In the end, for all the negative things I've said about Trevor Lawrence, if the Browns traded the second pick of the draft for Trevor Lawrence, I wouldn't kill him for it, because I'd say, okay, they must think he can be special,
they're trying.
And I could buy that it's possible that he could be special, so I would not kill him for it, even after all I said. Go ahead, Tyvus.
One last thing before you leave. Give me a player that you hope the Browns draft in this draft. Don't have to be in the first round.
Anywhere? Oh, this is easy. You're going to like this one, too. Quinshon Judkins.
Oh, that's a good one. Go Bucks.
He reminds me so much of Kareem, like the way he runs the football. I mean, I know you watched the entire playoff run. Running guys over, the stiff arms. He seeks out and that's all the stuff. That is all the stuff we said about Kareem, right? Was like he wants to block, he wants to like get in front of guys, he wants to run guys over. And I feel like the Browns could use like a sort of a different sort of style. And I know Nick Chubb can sort of be like that. I'm assuming at this point Nick Chubb's coming back. Yeah. He said the comments over the weekend about how he wants to come back. And then when he wants to get something worked out quickly. But again, there's a lot of unknown with him too, just like what level he can play to. But like a running back room that features a rookie like Quinshon as maybe the top guy, Nick Chubb and whatever he still kind of has left in the tank, and then Jerome Ford, who probably I don't imagine they're going to re-sign Jerome Ford. That's a room I can get behind. So Quinshon's my answer. I've been telling that to everybody. That's my like draft crush right now. I love that.
I'm more of a Travion guy because of the home run.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like the home run hitting ability. Like it's.
I wouldn't be.
If it's blocked up right.
I wouldn't be opposed to either. I wouldn't be opposed to either.
They both will go about the same. I think the combine numbers really dictate more so where they're gonna be.
All right, Spencer, good stuff. The podcast every day, every weekday, right?
Every weekday, yep, Monday through Friday.
Check it out, the Locked On Browns podcast. Spencer, thanks for joining us.
Always a pleasure.
Good to see you, man.
All right, Anthony, let's talk some Ultimate Guardians here. Zach and I will be back. We don't have a set time yet for our next Guardian show. It's a bad job out of me. We will be doing one Guardian show sometime before the end of the month, and then as we get into March, we'll start doing it more often. Then once the season starts, we will be doing the Ultimate Guardian show probably every Tuesday, but we'll let you know for sure. The best Guardians coverage in all of the land, the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show. There you go. All right, Mike.
All right, guys, that was great. Check out Spencer German on the Locked On Browns podcast. Speaking of podcasts.
Yes.
If you haven't listened to George Niang's podcast, it's called The Bench Sheet. It's very good. They put out episodes. They try to do every week, but sometimes the life of an NBA player gets in the way. It's him and Kevin Spies. It was his first podcast last night since the trade. And we talked at length of, what the locker room was, but it was interesting to hear a player's perspective on getting traded. So it's about 4.5 minutes. I sliced and diced a couple of different parts of it together to give you a gist of what George Niang went through on the day he got traded, the immediate emotions afterwards, and with Tyvus and Dustin being former players on the show today, I thought we could get kind of an inside look and take a look at how we view a trade versus how a player views getting traded. So take a listen. This is George Niang from his podcast, The Bench Seat.
It was probably like 1:35, 1:38 on Thursday, and me and Kevin were talking about how he was going to come to Cleveland, and we were joking around, and I was like, yeah, hold on a second, my GM's calling me. And then that's when my GM laid the news down that I was going to Atlanta, me and Karras, and thank you for what I've done in Cleveland, and that they'd be trading me.
Now, what is your because after you get traded, is there a difference between how you feel and what you say? Is there like a, knowing you are a consummate professional, always. So
I think your immediate feeling is like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? But like, it was crazy because I was getting a massage from a massage therapist of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and like, she clearly heard the conversation, right? So I'm getting a massage and like talking on the phone with my agent, talking on the phone with the team, like agent. Then everyone's calling me, and like my phone's going off, and you know, I just kept getting a massage. And now that I look back on it, I kept getting a massage, and all I remember is hearing her like behind me, but like it, like the massage like felt like the only like comforting thing at the moment, because it was like, it felt good to just be like, you know, something that was still like relaxing, because the rest of my life was just starting to get like hectic. So I stayed there for like another like 45 minutes getting a massage while the poor massage therapist for the Cleveland Cavaliers is like hysterically crying as she's giving me like a massage. And I didn't even recognize it till I turned around and she was like, I'm so sorry, like da-da-da. And I was like, no, it's totally fine. But like, I really appreciate, you know, all the work that we got to put together. And, you know, there's not much people can really say, right? Yeah. It's almost like clean breakups are good when you just rip the Band-Aid off and like you go like your separate ways. I know there was a lot of like history built and a lot of cool things that we got to accomplish together. But at the end of the day, it's like, that's the business aspect of it, that you have to just not bring your feelings in. And I'm saying that now because it's like 6 days post, but like if you could have seen me like day one, I was like, my emotions were like, I was like numb, you know, I didn't know what to say, didn't know what to do. And then you get to a new spot and you like, you don't want to ruffle feathers, but you want to like kind of implement yourself in there. So it was a crazy process, but it's honestly been awesome, you know, getting back together with Quinn Snyder, and then also having like someone like Karis LeVert, who's like a consummate professional, who's been traded, who's done it before, and was on my team, and I've known him before.
So what happened, I saw like, I think it was 3 minutes earlier, Shams had tweeted it.
Yeah.
It's crazy how many players probably find out by getting a...
If I probably wasn't on FaceTime with you, that's probably how I would have found out. Like, because I was like, you know, I was out getting a massage, and I was like, I'm going to use this massage time to pass like the next hour and a half till it's 3 o'clock, because I really didn't think we were doing anything. Like, you talk to your agents, they're like, yeah, you know, blah, blah, blah. And, you know,
Did you think you might have...
I was like, maybe, but I didn't think that we were going to do anything. Like, you look at it, like, I say weird, that when I was on the Cavs, we're 41-10. Like, we're the number one team in the East. So I was like, you know, why would we switch it up? But at the end of the day, like, I think as a realist, you have to be like, okay, on paper, like, that's a deal that they probably have to take when it comes to the business aspect, like expiring contracts, getting under the tax apron, player value, and
you know, shortening your bench, because you guys, you got, like the Cavs have a lot of players that can get minutes.
And at first you want to take it personal, but you really can't, like, because it's not personal. And I don't know how to explain that, because it took me like a couple of days to like really understand that. But change is always like tough, right? You go into a situation where you're like, wow, I just put my all into one place and they decided to move on. Like, how do I learn to become vulnerable again? And I think the beautiful thing about sports is that, like, sports is like its own language, right? So then when I finally I was anxious before I played, but when I wasn't sleeping, like, and then when I finally got to play in like Washington, I was like, it didn't matter like what team was across my chest. It was just like that I got to be vulnerable in the game again and have that connect me with the group of guys that I was out there. And it was just like, okay, like, everything's going to be all right. Like, you know, because basketball is the reason why all of us are here. And it's like, now the business aspect is out of it. Now it's just like, let's hoop and win games.
So that was George Niang on the podcast, the bench seat. Just an interesting perspective from the player's side of a deal like that, getting traded from the team with the best record in the East to a team that's kind of going in the opposite direction. Tyvis and Dustin, you guys have both changed teams throughout your career. How difficult is it to handle a situation like that? And do you kind of feel for George and Karis in a way?
First of all, that video is disturbing because you can't help but to look at the black eye or whatever the heck he got. What is that?
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
He got hit in the face the night before in a game by someone on the Clippers. It's just a black eye.
Okay, yeah.
He's fine. He's fine.
But I have not been traded, but I have the closest thing I can say to where, like, because I was young. I was a rookie in the NFL. So I was 22 when I was playing for the Seahawks. The closest thing I got to his situation was when I was playing for Seattle. I was there the entire season. We get to the playoffs, and they had to release me because they needed to sign Devin Hester because they needed a returner. And at that point, I was like, I probably felt the same way he felt, to where I was like crushed. But then I realized, like, business-wise, like, I understand why they did it from a business standpoint. Like, you need a returner. Devin Hester's a freaking Hall of Famer. Like, heck yeah, I would cut me too. I would cut me too for a Hall of Famer. So, like, you understand from that standpoint, but it does mess you up because of the simple fact that, you know, you've been here this entire year. You built a bond with these guys. You want to go to battle with these guys. You don't want to leave this organization because you like it here and you see the success that it's having. But ultimately, you have to realize, like, you have to learn to put your personal feelings to the side, which is what he was talking about, putting your personal feelings to the side and understanding that there's personal and then there's business. And when you're dealing with stuff like that, that's strictly business. You can't put your feelings into that, even though there's going to naturally be some. At the end of the day, you got to be a big boy and understand, like, this is a business decision. This was best for their business. So that's the best insight I can give you that's as close as I've gotten to being traded. I haven't been traded, though.
Well, there's a couple things that I think about here. Number one, to your point, Mikey, I mean, you can't help but feel bad for a player like George Niang when you see a clip like that. And especially when you're leaving a really good team that has a chance to win a championship to go to a team that probably doesn't. It's really tough. However, you have to then take some time and have perspective. And you go through all the stages of grief, I'm sure, when you get traded or whatever. I mean, I've been cut 100 times, I feel like. And I'm not even lying because, like, there was a time where I was just every single week up, down.
You
here,
too?
Yeah. And
that happened to me too.
I mean, I was going home for a week, coming back. Like, it was. You just become, like, numb to it. And then you're like, okay, I'm not a franchise player, so if I want to get this paycheck, this is the business.
Yep.
So you sort of change your mindset a little bit in that role. It still sucks. The other thing that sucks now for these guys more than anything is that you don't always get the phone call from the GM to find out we've got social media. I didn't live and play in a world with social media when I was playing ball. So like anything that happened, I was just found out from the team, the coach or the GM would call you into his office. So it's more cutthroat now than ever because these agents want to feed the info to these reporters before the players know. And I think it's bullshit, honestly.
Is it always the agent and not the team giving you?
It could be both. It doesn't matter. Somebody's got something they're benefiting from by hooking this guy up with some news before everybody else and before the player knows is absolutely ridiculous.
By the way, if the player finds out after it's put out by Woj or not Woj anymore, Shams or all the guys in the NFL and NBA or Major League Baseball, that's a disgrace. If the agent is doing that, that's your client.
Yeah. Well, but remember, there's agents of other parties involved too. So it doesn't always have to be your agent. Well, it could be like, okay, let's say there's 5 players in a trade, and it was some slappy from the Sixers. You're like, okay, well, that guy's agent could have told Shams because he wants a bone in a year.
Yeah, but all the agents have multiple clients. They should appreciate that respect. If it comes from the team, it's even more disgraceful.
Most agents are scumbags, dude.
Yeah, that's true.
I would say
in this industry too.
There's very few good ones out there.
Yeah. But I'll say this: you guys were both, and obviously, you guys were in a different situation because it was even worse for you guys. Because if you guys got cut, you didn't get paid.
Correct.
Yes.
George Niang's getting his contract. Doesn't mean I don't feel bad for him. Mm-hmm. I'd be sad if I were him. I don't want to go to the Hawks when I can maybe win a championship. Mm-hmm. But it is different. You guys, it's much worse because
you get cut. You
lose your money.
The fund stopped that. You get paid that Friday. That's it. Boom. Yeah. No checks, no more.
Dude, I was on the Eagles, and I got activated to the game day roster or the active roster from the practice squad.
Great day.
It was a great day. My
day.
paycheck went from $3,800 that week to $21,000.
So, yes, sir.
So that was a great day.
Yes, sir.
And then I remember, I was on the active roster because a player was battling an ankle injury. It was Roderick Hood, who was a good player, starter, and he was getting ready to come back, and I was asking him, how you feeling, man?
Yeah, take another week.
Because I'm like, just chill out, you good, man?
Yeah. You got to at least get 3 games going active so you can get to your next salary.
And so, like, I was, at one point, when I ended up going back down to the practice squad, it's kind of crappy, dude. You're sitting around, you're like, you see a player go down, your teammate go down, you're like,
Yeah.
is he gonna be okay? Because like the paychecks are a real thing and an opportunity.
It's a huge difference
between being active or being practice squad. But that was unique for me because I was like, man, this is crazy. It was the first time I'd ever been like, not rooting against my teammates, but I'm like, let him have a tweaked ankle.
I
just
think
not an ACL, but just something where it's going to keep him out so I can get 2 more weeks on the active so I can get a credited season.
We're going to 18 games here eventually. We know the players can say whatever they want. We know what's happening eventually. If I'm the players, one of the concessions I want is no more practice squad. Those guys are on the roster.
They should be.
This is ridiculous. You're talking about a minimum salary is what is it? 800,000.
It's less than that, dude.
It's like 450.
It's
okay.
400, 500.
So you're talking about
500.
You're talking about an extra $5 million, $6 million total, 7 maybe. Like every NFL team can afford $7 million for the bot. It's not even $7 million because those guys you're getting paid something on the practice squad. Obviously a lot less. Whatever it is. Let's say it's $5 million more per team to have all those and everybody should be active on game day.
Yes.
You should. If you're on the road, what is the point of only 45 of 50? That's stupid.
Some teams don't let you travel on. Some teams don't even take their play.
Yeah, and it's incredible that these teams nickel and dime these situations.
Does a lot of that have to do with gambling, like eliminating guys from playing, and also the trying to be deceitful about information about players' availability and things like that? Because if everybody was in uniform or available on game day, other teams and also people who are in Las Vegas wouldn't know if you sat a guy out all week just to kind of mess with another team, gamesmanship, if you will.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if that's a factor.
Well, what I'm saying, every healthy player should be active.
Yeah.
So maybe like the night before the game, you have to announce these are our injured guys. They will not be active. Everybody else is active. And if that means one team has 53 and the other team has 56,
shouldn't be healthy scratches.
Exactly. That shouldn't exist. There should also be a second bye. That would be good for the game, too.
If they get the second bye, I think people would be lenient. But let me tie one last point that I wanted to make about George is that because once I left Seattle, all I really wanted to do was go back to Seattle, and I remember talking to Sherm, and he kept saying, "Why do you want to come back here?" And it was like, well, I loved it out there, and he was like, well, the problem is, you see the secondary, you're never gonna play.
Yeah, right.
Like, so why would you go sit here and be my backup for the rest of your life? Like, no, you need to go somewhere you could play. And I thought about him, and I thought about Niang plays the 4, and I'm like, well, Evan, they just paid Evan. Evan's he's gonna never start over Evan. So, and then I started thinking about the Hawks. Who is the 4 for the Hawks? Do you know?
Well, they have a bunch of wings, so where they play one big man, Capella or Kongwu, then they start Jalen Johnson, Risa Shea, and Dyson Daniels.
Niang's not a starter.
But Jalen,
he's not starting.
No. But Jalen Johnson is out for the season.
Yeah.
So I'm saying he has more potential to be more impactful
for minutes, I guess.
For Atlanta. He'd be more productive.
He's going to play more for Atlanta than he would here.
He scored 21 last night.
That's what I'm saying. So like he can get more minutes and more time, and maybe he can parlay that into a contract somewhere else. But he wasn't going to get that here. So as much as you wanted to be here with the Cleveland Cavaliers because they might go on this nice run, at the end of the day, for your future, for who you are as a person, as a player, you want to play. And you want to take that play and turn it into payments. Yeah. And the only way you was going to be able to really maximize that is to be on the floor. And I think the Hawks give him that opportunity.
Yeah, it's a good point.
So by the way, that's the one positive.
By the way, the NFL minimum salary is now $795,000.
Woo! I go play today.
You know what it was when I was a rookie?
What was it?
300,000.
270,000.
And what was it when you were a rookie?
450.
It's come up in the world. I mean,
that's why I said, woo! That what you talking about?
Hey, that's almost double what it was for you, and almost
you want to know how much it was after my split contract?
Yeah.
That I didn't even know what a split contract was?
Like 180.
$135,000.
Haas was like,
because I went on IR as a rookie, so they cut my salary in half.
I didn't know what a split was either.
I think they got rid of them now.
If you get hurt, and you go IR, you get the split. You don't get the regular game check. You go into the split.
It would be a concession a player would give to an organization as I don't know. They'd be like, okay, we'll give you a 3-year deal, but you got to take a split your first 2.
Nah, I'm not taking a split. I take less.
So your agent kind of screwed you on that, or no?
I mean, he thought he was helping me out. He didn't know I was going to get hurt.
Sure.
in camp. Like, I mean,
So he got you a little more overall money.
Because I got less bonus
out.
money. I got less bonus money.
Yeah.
But I got 3 years, so I could have got to restricted free agency faster instead of signing a 4. They wanted me to sign a 4 with a little more bonus money and no split, but we did that. Anyway, the point is, I wish I just got the bonus money and had the 4-year deal.
Yeah.
Shoot.
You could have did. You should have took the 4-year deal off.
Dude, I didn't know shit, man.
The 4-year deal got you straight to the pension. You can't beat that with a bat.
Dude, I was 21.
The agent, that was his advice, right?
And my agent was really good.
I was
really,
undrafted.
I had one
a
of the good
split.
agents.
Yeah, and you were a high pick, so I
didn't think I wouldn't be there for more than I was a 3rd round pick. I thought I'd be there for at least 4 years. But whatever.
2 things before we move on to our last topic of the day.
Yeah.
Made it. That's all.
ESPN's Jacksonville Jaguars reporter Michael DeRocco just put out an update about the Trevor Lawrence rumors.
Oh, I want to hear it.
I'm going to read you these 2 tweets.
They're not trading him.
From Michael
That's exactly what
DeRocco,
they're gonna
who is
say.
the Jaguars ESPN reporter. First tweet. Regarding a recent report that the Steelers have inquired about a trade for Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence, a Jaguars source said there is, quote, no chance they'll trade Lawrence and called the idea, quote, ridiculous. Circling back, a different Jaguars source said no conversations with the Steelers regarding a potential Trevor Lawrence ever took place.
Yeah, I mean, the guy who tweeted it is not like a newsbreaker, and he's not a Steelers beat reporter. I don't know who the hell he was. But to be fair, the Jaguars are not going to admit that they'd be willing to trade
exactly. So I just wanted
Trevor Lawrence. So
just wanted to read that, put it out there. It was worth the conversation. I also want to read a text from my mom.
From your mom?
Yeah, who texted me and said, please make sure to mention the chat for getting to 600 likes on yesterday's show. They were super proud. So shout out to the chat for getting to 600 likes. Just know Mama Lucas is watching and she's proud of you guys. And we're proud of you guys for hitting the like button.
Shout out to Mama Lucas.
Thank you.
Mama Lucas.
I don't know if she's in. I hope she's not in the chat.
Is she? Like,
I don't know. She barely knows how to text. Did I tell you she blocked me?
What?
Well, hold on.
Your mother blocked you? Your number?
accidentally,
My
obviously.
mom, yeah. So my mom is not the most technologically advanced person. And
Yeah.
she used to get mad at me because she's like, you never call. I'm like, Mom, every time I call, it goes straight to voicemail.
Right. Oh,
She's like, no, it doesn't. I'm like, yes, it does.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to her on my dad's phone because I'd called my dad. And
Right,
he passed
right,
the
yeah.
phone. And I'm like, Mom, I bet you blocked me. She's like, I don't even know how to do that. I was like, I know you don't know how to do it. Turns out she had blocked me. So, yeah, all my calls were getting directed straight
Hey,
to
how
voicemail.
did just sorry to interrupt this, but like I know someone who's having this same issue with a parent. Is there an easy way to accidentally do that? To block somebody? Because I thought you had to
takes
go into settings and stuff. Is there a way, like when someone's calling you, that you can hit blocks? I know if a number comes that's not in your contacts, you can like decline the call and block.
It takes 2 or 3 clicks.
I
So
don't-
if you don't really know what you're doing and it's red, so you can think you're getting out of it,
yeah.
but red in this instance.
No, there's not an easy way to do it
Okay.
unless it's a junk number.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's happened to someone
Yeah.
I know that I'm close to with it all the time.
So,
Yeah.
So my mom is proud of the chat, so we appreciate the chat for getting to 600 likes. Get us back to
Yeah.
600 today. I don't know where we're at.
By the way, there's a major
Just
scam
that,
going on. If you get any text message about Easy Pass, ignore it, delete it, and report it as
I
junk.
ignore almost everything that's like that.
Yes.
Wait,
Spam.
say that
but
again?
dude, I'm telling you, some of this stuff is they get me to at least think about it for a
I
second.
know. I don't. If I get a call, I don't care if they say they're from a company that I do business with.
Yeah.
I never trust it.
No,
I'll say
I don't
I'll
either.
call back.
Yeah.
Tristan Thompson has come out and he's
He's made a statement.
he's broken his silence.
Good.
Okay.
What did he say?
He said, first of all, the Raptors head coach said, I think what Tristan did was there was no class and disrespectful. I love when my team stands up for themselves. Tristan hits back via Twitter fingers. You want a full press under a minute left in the game when you get cracked by 30. This will happen to you. Lose for draft lottery and be happy, buddy boy. Hopefully, you and most of your guys see the light at the end of Bobby and Masai.
It's the front office.
Long-term plan. Bless up, stay warm in my city.
Damn.
Smiley face.
He's from Toronto, right?
He is from Toronto.
They were pressing with a minute to go.
Like it was the bench guys. They were half pressing. Yeah, it was like I said, blown out of proportion for no big deal.
Mike.
And he had every right to dunk.
I
Play
don't-
some defense.
This is absurd. That calling.
Play
I
some
mean,
defense.
He should have threw it off the glass.
the coach sounds like a total loser. I mean, that's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
him complaining afterwards,
Yeah.
not a great look. But we got one last topic to get to. This topic is brought to us by FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action with FanDuel. If you're looking for bigger payouts, you can combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. That is FanDuel.com/UCSS for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA and the official sportsbook of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Let's talk some Buckeyes to wrap up today's show.
Go Bucks.
Chip Kelly gone. Jim Knowles gone. Welcome to Columbus, Matt Patricia. Brian Hartline and Bailey Keenan will now run the offense.
Well, we're not welcoming Brian Hartline to Ohio State.
I'm just saying they're running the
he's
offense
already there.
now. Change of coordinators. Let's start with the most recent coordinator change, though. Matt Patricia heading to Columbus to run the defense. Tyvis, good hire. Are you a fan of the former NFL head coach, 3-time Super Bowl champ, getting a chance to run the Buckeyes defense?
Yeah, I'm a fan of it. I think that you're replacing Jim Knowles, who's an unbelievable defensive mind. Obviously, at Ohio State, you set a standard there. He's raised the bar of what the defense needed to be, and he got to go get a guy that is of the same caliber, of the same mindset, that can come up and call the defense the same type of way. So I respect him for swinging this big. You know, a lot of people wanted it to be an internal hire, but, you know, those guys, yes, they've been under Jim Knowles, but, you know, their defensive coordinator experience has been very short in collegiate football. So I think you go get a guy that's established, that's a veteran, that's done this a long time, that's done it in the Super Bowl on the biggest stage of them all, a guy that I think players would love to listen and learn from. So I think it was a good hire.
Dustin, do you agree?
I do think it's a good hire. I don't think he was a good head coach when he got that opportunity, or at least it didn't go well in terms of wins and losses. But the guy's got a proven track record. He knows defenses. I have no problem with this at all.
The wooden pencil is back.
Yeah. I mean, did anybody really even know that much about Jim Knowles before he came to Ohio State? I didn't know a ton.
He had the number one defense
he
in
had a good
Oklahoma
defense
State.
at Oklahoma State. That's about all I knew. So, no, I think it's good. I mean, Matt Patricia brings that NFL pedigree to this team. And if there's one team in college football that prepares players for the league and runs it like an NFL organization, it's the Ohio State Buckeyes. So I like the hire. Time will tell. They've got good players to coach, so like that's the thing. I mean, where he was a head coach, he didn't have really great players, so maybe that's why he didn't have the success.
He had Matt Stafford, though.
Matt Stafford also didn't win with any other coach either. So outside of McVay, but I think Matt will do a nice job.
So it's a perfectly fine hire. He was a good defensive coordinator with the Patriots. Like every other guy that worked for Belichick, he was not a good head coach because they all try to be Belichick. And you don't have that cachet to be Belichick instead of being themselves. We've seen that with Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels, every time he gets a job, he wants to do everything like Belichick. Well, you don't have that cred. But he was a good defensive coach. He was a defensive coach there a long time. I think in Belichick's last year, he made him offensive coordinator, which was a huge mistake. And
they brought him back after he got fired in Detroit. He went back to New England for the end of the Belichick era as an offensive guy.
Right.
Turned out to be a terrible
And he had some experience very early in his career working on the offensive side of the ball, but he'd been a defensive guy for so long, it was a weird fit making him an OC, and the whole situation was bad. So his more recent years haven't been great, but his earlier track, listen, the guy's a veteran coach. He's been part of great teams. He's won Super Bowls as an assistant coach. And seems like a perfectly reasonable hire.
And he'll go out and have a number one defense, have some great draft picks come off this team, and he'll parlay that into a $6 billion contract in the NFL.
You think so?
Maybe. Chip did it.
Well, but Chip's not a head coach in the NFL.
No, but he's an OC. I don't think he wants to. He's not about to be a head coach.
Chip Kelly he's not getting $6 million. He's getting $6 million as an OC.
The highest paid OC.
Who did that?
The Raiders.
The Raiders.
Of course, it's the Raiders. Yeah. That is so stupid. Why would you pay him $6 million to be an OC?
Well, let's talk offense.
Hey, your money, who cares?
Dustin, with Brian Hartline and Keenan Bailey, the tight ends coach, taking over the offense, do you expect to see a drastic change in what the Buckeyes' offense looks like next year?
And why co-offensive coordinators? I always think that's weird. I mean, Hartline seems like he's earned his chops to be OC. He's your buddy. What do you got on that?
There's always something behind the titles.
Yeah.
Either
To, like, keep them there or something?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
usually helps them out. I don't know.
I think it's one of those.
Borderline's probably the lead guy, I would assume.
I would assume so too. Yeah.
Probably
But-
to keep everybody satisfied. Maybe to stop you from going and take a job somewhere else. Maybe,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I would expect the offense to be explosive. Got to find out who our quarterback's going to be. Do we know exactly what we're doing at quarterback next
Somebody
year?
out of the portal?
It's like 80-20 Julian Sane.
Okay.
They're not looking in the portal, though?
No.
So what do you think the offense is going to look like? Is it going to look similar to last year?
Well, I think that the challenges that Brian will face is that he's a receiver. So, you want to air raid the thing a lot. But I think that's why they went and got that Tyler Bowen guy from the offensive line coach from Virginia Tech, because he's a run game coordinator as well. So I think that they will work together along with Keenan Bailey to keep a balanced attack. But obviously, you got to feed the high hand, and the high hand is your wide receivers right
got
now.
super studs
because your running backs consist of a guy, James People, who I think is going to be a really good running back. He was a freshman last year. Sam William Dixon got out of the portal. He decided to come back. You ended up getting a kid from West Virginia who's a speedster. So, it's a young running back group is what I'm saying. And I think that you'll have to lean more. But the quarterback will be young. This will be his first year starting college football. So
What kind of quarterback is he? What's his style of play?
he's a gunslinger.
He's not a runner?
Pocket passer.
Pocket
yeah,
passer.
Pocket
Okay.
passer. But Lincoln is an athlete. So
And he's the backup?
yeah. Well,
or the guy you think is going to be the
projected.
backup?
I'm of the. I'd wait till they post up their depth charts.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's heavily favored to
Yeah.
Julian. Sane.
Why? Shouldn't it be an open competition?
Well, due to the fact of last year in the spring, when Julian first got here and he went through his first spring ball, he had a nice touch on his ball. Let's just say his name was buzzing around the Woody in the locker room a lot.
So some people thought he should have been the starter.
No, not the starter,
Oh, okay.
but they were saying this kid is.
He's got it.
Yeah, this kid is like.
All right.
Like not just coaches, like teammates.
And he's a
like,
sophomore?
He will be a sophomore.
And where's he from?
He was originally, I think he's from California, man.
He's from California.
He
He
went
was the
to-
number one rated quarterback
yeah.
in the country, committed to play for Nick Saban at Bama. Saban leaves. He transfers to Ohio State.
Yeah.
All right, so this kid's got a top pedigree.
He can.
Oh, he's
he
a
can
top five,
Yeah,
five-star
yeah,
plus
everybody
product.
does.
He can sling it.
I mean,
he can
it's
sling it.
not like, well,
Everyone's got a top pedigree playing for the Buckeyes.
how did Joe Bauserman end up as the quarterback that one year?
I don't know, man. That's a great question.
Dark days.
But you're right. I mean, for the most part.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I say all that to say, obviously I got to see what it looks like in the spring. You would think that it would be more pass, but I think those running backs have enough to get it done. I think that they got to find a happy balance. But I think worst case scenario, throw it up to number 4.
Now, he's still got another year before he can be drafted,
He
right?
got 2 years. He got this year and next year.
You think he sits out that third year or he plays?
Well, Cardell claims he should sit out.
Cardell's probably right.
Cardell
Jamar
thinks
Chase
he should
sat
sit
out, didn't he?
That was COVID.
That was COVID.
Oh, that was COVID. Right.
He did sit out. Rashad Bateman did the same thing.
Well, Rashad Bateman.
If he goes,
Were these guys getting NIL money?
no.
Okay.
If,
That's true. That is a difference. Yeah.
If JJ,
Especially him, he's going to get tons
if
of money.
JJ goes out there this season and he wins the Blitnikoff and he's like third in the Heisman or something like that,
Yeah.
then yeah, absolutely, I'll sit out my third year. Why? What else do I
Well,
need to
to
prove?
Dustin's
Well, you're
point-
getting paid though.
You think they wouldn't pay him still?
I don't think
No, you
no,
can't
I
pay
don't
him not
think
to.
so.
I'm not paying him
I
not to
wouldn't pay
play.
him not to play. No, and I think that it would potentially hurt. Not that it would matter. Someone would still draft him very, very high. But I think you wonder, all right.
Yeah, I doubt it would
I
hurt
wanna-
his draft stock, but
And
there's
I-
less risk of injury.
True, but
I mean, what's the odds you have an injury that destroys your whole career?
Right.
I mean, it's slim, and he's getting paid. He can get paid probably more than anybody in the country.
And these guys can get ridiculous insurance policies now too, which is why
Yeah.
Dion played his guys in the meaningless bowl game against BYU. They played.
yeah.
We'll wrap up this before we get to Super Chats.
Yeah.
You know how we started the show with the Max Strus numbers, and you're like, that doesn't seem like a lot of minutes.
Yeah.
They played 97 minutes, the core 4 plus Max Strus. Well, shout out to my guy Justin Rowan from the Chase Down Pod. He was
Yeah.
listening and sent me the most minutes any 5-man lineup for the Cavs have played this season. Where do you think 97 minutes ranks among all the Cavs 5-man lineup?
I was thinking about it more,
Second.
and I realized that it's like, guys are coming in and out of the game all the time. So, all right, I'll go with Tyvus and say second.
Dustin?
Third.
Dustin, you were correct. It is the third most minutes any five-man group has played together.
Even though he hasn't played that many games, Strus.
Well, this is going to give you. Number one is the core four plus Dean Wade.
I knew
That
it.
has played 197 minutes together. The net rating for that group is 7.7. That's the most, 197, net rating 7.7. The second most, the core four with Isaac Okoro. 148 minutes, a net rating of 11.4. And then third, the core four plus Max Strus with a net rating of 32.3.
I wonder if that's more. I wonder if they played more minutes per game with that.
Well, it helps when you get up to a 41-19 lead in the first quarter yesterday in that first 6-minute stretch.
That's
you're
true.
On. And
that's true.
Well, they didn't do it against Minnesota because that was Hunter. And for the record, Hunter with the core four has played 11 minutes, has a net rating of 13.8 in 11 minutes. It's way too small of a sample size to draw any conclusions.
Mike, how many super chats you have?
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. First one comes from DB Dog. Oh,
do that. No, go ahead. I'll save it to after if we have time.
Okay. DB Dog 21 says, "You guys make us feel like we are all friends, just hanging out, talking about the things that friends talk about. That's the beauty of this show."
I think that was in response to our conversation.
It was very early
at the beginning of the show because I also, and I thought I'd read this text real quick. Not text, tweet. Zach said, "The family conversation to start the show today and the things you guys said helped me a lot. Bull. Appreciate that. Going to reach back out to my pops and try to mend some fences."
Nice.
See,
incredible.
people are interested in these type of things. So
Awesome.
that's cool.
Next one. That is awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
Not to overshadow, but like that.
Yeah. No,
that's
it
really
is.
powerful. Yeah. Rashawn Richard says, "Happy birthday, Ty. My birthday's on Saturday."
Today's your birthday?
No, my birthday's Sunday.
Oh, I was about to say.
This is my last show as a 30-year-old guy.
That's right.
I'll be 31.
Take your hand off your mic.
I wish I could be 31.
Also, happy birthday, Rashawn. Happy early birthday.
Yes, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Rashawn. Happy birthday,
birthday.
Tyvus. What are you
Vernell
doing
Jackson.
for your birthday? Anything interesting?
Strip club. No, I'm not doing nothing. I'm having a dinner on Saturday with some friends down in Columbus. But
Where you going?
On my
Anywhere
birthday
exciting?
on Sunday, I ain't doing nothing.
Where are you going in Columbus for dinner?
Some place called Tucci's or something like that. I've never heard
Italian
of it.
food?
I guess.
I don't know why I don't ever call you when I'm in Columbus.
Call them.
Because you don't care about me.
No. I just don't. Well, we didn't play together.
That's
so,
true,
so
too.
it does. You don't pop to the top of my mind. I'm like, okay, I'm going to call Bobby Carpenter. I'm going to call the guys I play with.
Yeah.
But I should call you. Because those guys blow me off anyway.
There you go.
Why?
A couple more super
I
chats.
always hit them up last minute.
Yeah,
Vernell
real quick
Jackson.
before the next super chat, somebody told me there's a great restaurant in Columbus called Ding Ho. It's a Chinese restaurant. A great name, Ding Ho.
Ding Ho.
You know Ding Ho? Either of you?
I don't know. But,
Also
but
in
I'm
Canton,
down with
Mike-
Ding Ho's.
I'm hearing about Mike's Pizza Shop in Canton. Have you heard about Mike's Pizza Shop in Canton?
Dingo.
I'm not.
I'm hearing things about this Mike's Pizza
You're
Shop.
hearing things?
I'm hearing it's
Streets
very
are-
special.
streets are talking?
Spell
Yes.
this Dingo.
Ding Ho,
D-I-N.
D-I-N-G space Ho, H-O.
All right, while Tyvus is looking up Ding
Yeah.
Ho's, let's look at our next
like
super
pizza,
chat.
huh?
Burnell Jackson says, "What do you guys think about trading a late-round pick for Malik Willis? He's in the last year of his rookie deal."
Not
Malik
interested in Malik.
Willis? No.
No interest in Malik Willis.
Yeah, no. I love that Matt LaFleur is able to do what he's done with him, but
Then again, if they traded a 7th-round pick or a 6th-round pick for Malik Willis,
if
fine.
they're gonna trade one of their draft picks for a player, I'd take the Joe Milton flyer.
Well, Joe Milton's actually our next super
34
chat.
minutes away from me.
Vernell also says Joe Milton and a 4th pick swaps with the Patriots.
Joe Milton for a 4th?
He says Joe Milton and a 4th. I'm thinking he means Joe Milton for a 4th.
I'd take that. I'd do that.
No, he's saying pick swaps. So he's saying the Browns trade, get Joe Milton and the Patriots' 4th-round pick to move up to the Browns' 4th-round pick. Why would that's the Patriots essentially giving him away? Why
Yeah,
would
they wouldn't do that.
Why would they give him away? He might be their backup
But
quarterback.
if that was the case, I would take it.
Mr. Red Pants says, is it the coach or situation? Could a quarterback succeed conversation?
Yeah.
Does Hard Knocks show reality?
What do you guys think? You would know.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%.
I mean, they hide some stuff,
Yeah,
but
and they also can make it. It's a reality show.
yeah.
But the stuff that they're showing is way more real than Survivor or The Bachelor or something like that.
Yeah, they're not acting in
No,
that show.
and no one's telling them how to act on.
Right.
You literally just get mic'd up and whatever happens.
Yes.
And they'll cut it. They'll cut their little.
You were on Hard Knocks?
No, I was not on Hard Knocks. I've done
either.
something similar to it though. We did
really? Like a local team one?
No, we did some when I was at Ohio State. Urban did it with somebody. My first season at Ohio State, they did it, and then the Big Ten, I think, did it after we won the Natty. When I did it for like a week of practice or something like that.
All right, Mike.
Last super chat.
Yeah.
Pete says trading for Trevor Lawrence won't get the Browns to the next level, especially in the AFC. It would be like going back to Baker as the quarterback. And I want to shout out Mike Redaway, Nathaniel Kramer, Bailey Blanton, and those guys for becoming Coaches Tier members today.
If you had to shout out to those guys real quick. If you had to, for the next 8 years, forget the connection of the Browns.
Okay.
If I said to you, who's going to be the better quarterback next 8 years, Baker Mayfield or Trevor Lawrence, who are you taking?
The next 8 years?
Yeah.
And it's close. I think it's close.
It's very
close. I think Trevor's got more talent
I agree.
as an athlete.
Baker's clearly better right now.
Yeah.
I think I would go with Trevor Lawrence because of the Brian Thomas effect.
In other words, if they had the same, from this perspective, if they had the same coach and the same, if you put them both, if you put Trevor Lawrence on the Bucs, if they were both on the same team with the same players and the same coaches,
who would
you rather have?
Well, we know this much. He's getting Liam Cohen, who was Coach Baker the last couple of years, to great years, is now his coach.
That's true. And it's not like Jacksonville doesn't have talent. They've got good offensive players.
They do.
We'll think about that more. Plus, Mike, I don't know if you have something for overtime because I do if you don't.
We'll do both.
Okay, that's coming up. Overtime next.